Hey, good morning and welcome back to the Dennis Herrera Show. I was not ready to come on live right now. I have been busy all morning. My ass is already ready to retire. I've been sitting here working on some other projects, just crazy little things like, for example, my friend Daddy Trump comes in here and points at you guys. Good morning, all of my patriots. So good to see you guys in here. I'm still trying to organize my little chats so that I can see who is on what streaming. Let's see, I got Burning 47. They probably already came to the other side, but I got Burning 47, Coyotes, Samuel Westall. How are you doing, man? Hope you guys are staying strong over there in England. That's right. Samuel is watching us all the way from England, and he is going to be on our landscape live stream. With that being said, I got Robert, big bro, got my text. I know you were wondering where the hell I was. That's why I texted you. Be patient. I'm coming. Listen, we got 3 live streams that we got to hit today. So if I don't get through it right now in a row, we're going to come back and hit it later this afternoon. And who knows, maybe we'll get some more live streams given to us. Right now, we're going to start with the latest live stream, and we're going to go backwards. Secretary Marco Rubio, it's already spilling the beans as we speak. But I got to say hello to you guys first. What's up? Brian, what's going on, big bro? Man, I love having my big bros here with me. Makes me feel just glad you're here. Unc Andy, good morning, sir. Cray Miss, I'm guessing no tie, maybe a jacket. Oh, God, hope not the cowboy hat. Cray Miss does not like the cowboy hat. But don't complain too much, man, because it's sitting right here. It might just... just sit right there. Hold tight. Don't worry. I haven't forgotten about you. Nathan Daniel says, are you a Fed? No federale here. Just an American patriot. That's right. Make America great again. It is the slogan of the American people. Those who get offended by it, tough shit. Because make America great is what every American should be saying today. I think it's fantastic. Raquel, how are you? Good to see you, Raquelita. All right. User, we don't know who this guy is. This is an incognito guy. Such an adult big boy. Congratulations on the assimilation. Makes you feel safe in your racism. Oh, this guy, poor guy. Talking about people that are just so insecure about themselves. Anywho, I say hello. Let's get to it. Marco Rubio coming in here. And, let's take a listen. I've been wanting to hear Marco Rubio speaking. And, here we are. Oh, man, what the hell? I am blocking the alerts. Okay, I'll fix all that stuff while we're watching the video. Here we go.
Okay. Hello. Thank you guys for having me today. I'll be filling in for Caroline today, obviously. So I'll have a brief remarks here, and then we'll get to your questions. As you know, over the weekend, the president announced this Project Freedom, and the goal of it is to, frankly, if you want to talk about it, it's to rescue like almost 23,000 civilians from 87 different countries that are trapped inside of the Gulf and left for dead in the Persian Gulf by this Iranian regime. For more than 2 months now, these innocent sailors and commercial crew members have been stranded out at sea because Iran is conducting something that's not just criminal. It's criminal for sure, but it's desperate and destructive, this blockade of the Straits of Hormuz. Nations from around the world, the overwhelming majority of whom are not even engaged in any military hostilities, are now at risk not just of losing their cargo, but the lives of their own citizens because of this blockade. These ships, you don't leave a ship out there for this long. You start running out of food. You start running out of potable water, essential supplies, and they're at the mercy of this piracy. And what it is, it's piracy. And not only that, but some of them have seen, been opened fire on and rained down senseless attacks on several civilian ships already. So frankly, the way to put it, these are innocent bystanders. These are countries that, and ships and so forth that have nothing to do with any of this, and nonetheless are being caught in the middle of it and being held hostage merely because Iran could do that, just as the regime brutally slaughtered tens of thousands of their own citizens for the crime of peaceful protest, because they're unhappy with the quality of life or the lack of quality of life in Iran today. And so they're sitting ducks. They're isolated, they're starving, they're vulnerable, and at least 10 sailors have already died as a result of the civilian sailors. So already many nations privately and some publicly have asked the United States to help free their ships and to restore freedom of navigation in the Straits of Hormuz and this critical artery of global trade. And so President Trump, as he always does, stepped up and answered the calls for their help. And he's directed the United States military to guide these stranded ships to safety, to provide a protective bubble under which they can operate and move product and get themselves out of there and out of harm's way. And this is the first step towards reopening the strait and bringing this regime's last-ditch act of economic arson, bringing that to a close. We're doing it not only because we were asked, but because we're the only ones who can. Only we have the power to sort of take the steps that we've taken now. Under this president, under President Trump, the United States will help our friends. We're going to stand up to rogue regimes like the one in Tehran, and we're going to be unashamed to use our power and our abilities to project military power in the service of our national interest above all else. Now, what's really important for you to report and for everyone to understand is this is not an offensive operation. This is a defensive operation. And what that means is very simple. There's no shooting unless we're shot at first. Okay? We're not attacking them. But if they're attacking us or they're attacking a ship, you need to respond to that. You're not going to let some fast boat come up on a ship and shoot it up. We're going to respond to it, and we've been successful at it. I don't know what the exact number is, but I know a number of those fast boats have now been targeted, and will continue to be if they pose a threat to our forces. We'll shoot down drones, we'll shoot down missiles, but it's defensive in nature. This is defensive. So if you hear stories about attacks and launching of firing back and forth, it's not back and forth. We are only responding if attacked first. This is a defensive operation, and that's what's occurring here. Just about the importance of the Straits for a moment. This is approximately a quarter of the world's oil trade, along with significant volumes of fuel and fertilizer that operate through the Straits of Hormuz. The Iranian regime cannot be allowed to dictate who uses this vital waterway. I don't think this is also being reported enough. Maybe you are reporting. I don't read everyone. I don't know many damn outlets here. I don't know who you all are, but I mean, I know who some of you are, but I don't know all of you are. But I will say this about it. This is an international waterway. Okay, this is an international waterway. And international law is very clear, and I love it because everybody always talks about international law, and this international law on this is very clear. International waterways, no country can control them. There is no international law that allows you to say, I'm going to put mines in an international body of water, and I'm going to blow up ships that don't listen to us and try to go through. That's what Iran is doing. This is a criminal act, and someone needs to do something about it. Something needs to be done. It's completely illegal, completely illegitimate, and completely unacceptable. And that's why the United States military is guiding stranded commercial ships safely through the strait and is working to restore freedom of navigation and putting an end to these efforts to hold the global economy hostage. So far, as a proof of concept and as a proof of function, 2 U.S. flag merchant ships have successfully transferred the Strait of Hormuz in the first stages of this project, and they're now safely on their way. The U.S. military is deploying the necessary assets to extend this defensive umbrella over commercial shipping. But there should be no mistake. And as I said this already, this is a defensive operation. I want to reiterate that point. This is important to understand. If no shots are fired at these ships and no shots are fired at us, we're not firing shots. But if we're fired on, we will respond, and we will respond with lethal efficiency. The assets supporting this project, by the way, include guided missile destroyers, over 100 land and sea-based aircraft, multi-domain unmanned platforms, and 15,000 of the finest military service members on the planet. These forces have already destroyed, as I told you earlier, I thought it was 6, it's 7 Iranian fast boats that failed to heed our warnings. And by fast boats, we're talking about, some of these things look like Boston whalers. Okay, so these are not like Navy ships. But nonetheless, they come fast at these boats, try to swarm them, try to harm them. We're not going to let that happen. So 7 of them now sit at the bottom of the sea, along with, by the way, the rest of Iran's Navy. That's where you can find their Navy today. And we're going to continue to systematically clear this passageway through the straits to restore freedom of navigation. Now, while this project steadily progresses, Operation Economic Fury, continues to impose maximum pressure on the Iranian regime and what remains of their already frail economy. Today, inflation in Iran is 70%, and their currency is in total and complete freefall. U.S. sanctions enforcement is stepping up. It's moving in lockstep with the naval blockade to degrade Iran's capacity to generate, to move, and repatriate revenue. It directly targets the regime's primary revenue lifelines. The blockade alone is costing Iran as much as $500 million a day in lost revenue. 90% of total Iranian trade has been halted, causing permanent damage to Iran's oil infrastructure as wells are forced to shut in. Again, all of this is in response to their piracy. Okay, it cannot be that you have these straits and they blow up any ship that moves and the only ships that get to go through are theirs. You can't have a situation in which the straits are closed to everyone else, but they benefit from the piracy. That can't happen. That's why the blockade is in place, and that's why these sanctions are crippling them. Any foreign financial, by the way, Treasury is now identifying and cutting off every dollar of revenue that's flowing to this regime. And so, look, any foreign financial institution or commercial actor that enables Iran's sanctions evasion is going to face secondary sanctions exposure and a loss of access to the U.S. financial system. As President Trump has said, and the facts clearly bear out, the United States of America holds all the cards. There is no scenario here in which if they decide to join a ladder of escalation, they wind up getting the last say. But our preference is for these straits to be opened to the way they're supposed to be opened, back to the way it was. Anyone can use it, no mines in the water, nobody paying tolls. That's what we have to get back to, and that's the goal here. Every day the conflict continues, however, our leverage on Iran will continue to increase, and their position will continue to weaken, especially as the blockade really begins to bite in conjunction with the sanctions. So, look, the time's come for Iran to make a sensible choice. And it's not easy for them to do that, obviously, because they have a fracture in their own leadership system. And apart from that, I mean, the top people in that government are, to say the least, they're insane in the brain. And so we need to address that, and it's difficult because it's hard to get past that in their system. But it's important for them to make a sensible choice and the one that's right for their people. The president, our president, has proven time and again that his preference is peace. But Iran must accept the reality of this situation and come to the negotiation table and accept terms that are good for them but ultimately good for the world. The diplomatic path, if there's a real diplomatic path, I'm not sure it's going to be one, but if there's a real diplomatic path and we continue to explore it, Steve and Jared are working on that very hard. If there is one there, it could be one that leads them to reconstruction, to prosperity, and to stability, and to not posing a threat to the world. The alternative is growing isolation, economic collapse, and ultimately total defeat. I know what the right choice is for Iran. I hope that the people over there making decisions will make the right one. The last point I would make, and it really is important for them to understand this, is they really shouldn't test the will of the United States, at least not under President Donald Trump. He has proven time and again that he will back up what he says. And if they test him, ultimately they will lose. The hard way, the easy way, the long way, the short way, they will lose. And with that, it's time for your questions. So, Catherine, why don't we start with you first?
Hi, Catherine Herridge. I'm an independent journalist. Secretary Rubio, have you seen any recent indications that Iran is willing to give up its nuclear weapons program that is credible, verifiable, and that would lead to an immediate de-escalation?
Well, look, this is a long-standing problem for them, right? I mean, they have wanted, they have always said they don't want a nuclear weapon. That's because they've always said that, they just don't mean it. And why do you say, well, how do you know they don't mean it? Well, we don't mean it because they're doing all the things, and historically have tried to do all the things that you do if you want a nuclear weapons program. For example, they innovate and try to innovate long-range delivery missiles that now, in some cases, are capable of reaching much of Europe. They build these large underground centrifuges for enrichment activity. There are countries in the world that are involved in the enrichment business, but these guys do it in mountains and in caves and in hiding. They've always had secret components of their nuclear program undisclosed to the world. And we know for a fact that they retain highly enriched uranium at 60%, that they did so. And that has no civilian use, none, zero whatsoever. So they have an opportunity here to agree to something that will make it clear that they're not interested in. One thing is to say we don't want a nuclear weapon. Another thing is to do the things that prove you don't want a nuclear weapon. By the way, if what Iran wants is a civilian nuclear program for power plants and stuff like that, there are a lot of countries in the world that have that, and they don't enrich. They import the enriched material. You know, they could have that if that's what they wanted, but they're not acting like that's what they wanted. They're acting like they want a military, nuclear program. That's unacceptable. So that's the process we're engaged in now. To create, that's the object of this diplomacy, is to come up with some level of understanding about what are the topics that they've agreed to negotiate on. We don't have to have the actual agreement written out, and one day this is highly complex and highly technical. But we have to have a diplomatic solution that is very clear about the topics that they are willing to negotiate on and the extent and the concessions they're willing to make at the front end in order to make those talks worthwhile. That's what Stephen Jarrett and the whole team is working on, and I hope to have good news on it. That's the outcome we would prefer. That's the outcome we would have preferred a year ago. That's the outcome I think most of us would have preferred a long time ago. But that's not the option they've given us given their activity. All right, there's no way I can figure out who to call on. I'm just going to press right in the middle, right there, you right there, yeah. Right in the back row.
Thank you, Mr. President.
I'll go to you next. I can't get everybody, you know that. All right, go ahead.
Thank you, Secretary Rubio.
Keep going right.
Welcome to the White House.
What's that?
Talking to me, sir?
Yeah, to you, yes, sir.
Thank you. I have two questions on two separate issues that come
Do they
under...
get two questions for these?
Two questions.
There's a lot of people in here.
That fall under your umbrella.
All right, well, you answer. You can ask me two questions. I'll give you one answer. Go
Thank
ahead.
you very much. I appreciate
And I'll pick the one I like better.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. The first has to do with the blockade. There are lawmakers from both parties who claim the blockade is an act of war. What do you say to that? And my second question has to do with the fuel embargo of Cuba. How long, Mr. Secretary, will that last?
Okay, two things. All right, good. I'll answer both your questions because I like the second one too. The first one on the blockade. And so why do we have a blockade? We have a blockade because they shut down the straits. So I don't know which members of Congress you're talking to, but here's what I would ask them. I would ask everybody here. It's very simple. These guys have shut down the Straits of Hormuz. This is what Iran is saying. We will shut down the straits. No one can go through. No country in the world can go through unless we allow you to go through, and you have to pay us. But our ships can go through, meaning the Iranian ships, as much as they want. That's crazy. Who would agree to that? So how are we going to have a situation where they get to close the straits to everybody, and the only people who are allowed to go through there 100% without paying anything are the Iranians? If you do that, they'll keep the straits closed forever. They're trying to make this some new normal. Okay, under no circumstances can we ever allow them to normalize the fact that they get to blow up commercial ships and put mines in the water. So the response to that is we're going to blockade your ships. If everyone's ships are not getting out, your ships are not getting out either. That's not an act of war. That's a defensive measure. It's a counter to what they have decided to do. You know what is an act of war? Putting mines in the water. Why don't the members of Congress, whoever it is complaining about it, they should be all over that. These guys put mines in the water. That alone, mining in the water is illegal, period, under any circumstances, and they've done it. This is crazy stuff, but this is what they've done. On Cuba, oil blockade on Cuba. There's no oil blockade on Cuba per se. Here's what's happening with Cuba, okay? Cuba used to get free oil from Venezuela. Used to give them a bunch of free oil. They would take like 60% of that oil and resell it for cash. It wouldn't even go to benefit the people. So the only blockade that's happened is the Cubans have decided, the Venezuelans have decided we're not giving you free oil anymore. And you can only imagine nowadays, the way oil prices are, no one's giving away free oil, much less to a failed regime. So the problem with Cuba is worse, okay? Their economic model doesn't work. Doesn't work. And the people who are in charge can't fix it. And the reason that I can't fix it is not just because they're communists, that's bad enough, but they're incompetent communists. The only thing worse than a communist is an incompetent one. And that's what, so incompetent communists run that country. They don't know how to fix it. They really don't. And we have 90 miles from our shores a failed state that also happens to be friendly territory for some of our adversaries. So it's an unacceptable status quo. I will be addressing it, but not today. Okay. All right, let's go to the front, right there.
Secretary Rubio.
Yeah.
You are going to the Vatican to meet with the Pope. Is this an attempt to smooth things over with the Pope, given the rhetoric between President Trump and Pope Leo?
No, it's a trip we had planned from before, and obviously we had some stuff that happened. And no, look, there's a lot to talk about with the Vatican. I'll give you one example. The Pope just returned from a trip to Africa, where the church is growing very vibrantly. And we have shared concerns about religious freedom, freedom in different parts of the world. We'd love to talk to them about that. The topic of Cuba, we gave Cuba $6 million of humanitarian aid, but obviously they won't let us distribute it. We distributed it through the church. We'd like to do more. We're willing to give more humanitarian aid to Cuba, by the way, distributed through the church, but the Cuban regime has to allow us to do it. They won't allow us to give their own people more humanitarian aid. and we're willing to do it through the church. So there's a lot to talk about.
And the president recently said that the Pope is endangering a lot of Catholics as a result of his rhetoric around the Iran war. Is that a sentiment
Well, I
you
don't think
agree
that's
with?
an accurate description of what he said. I think what the president basically said is that Iran can't have a nuclear weapon because they would use it against places that have a lot of Catholics and Christians and others for that matter. It goes back to the central point. I think the president, without trying to speak for him, but I think I can characterize it this way. He doesn't understand why anybody, leave aside the Pope, the president, and I, for that matter, I think most people, I cannot understand why anyone would think that it's a good idea for Iran to ever have a nuclear weapon. Look what they're doing with the Straits right now. They're holding the whole world hostage. They have these sailors, on commercial ships that are going to starve to death out there. They don't care. They don't care that this is melting down the economies around the world, even of their own allies. This is what they're doing with the Straits. What do you think they would do if they had a nuclear weapon? They would hold the world hostage with that nuclear weapon. That's what they would do. They would do exactly to the world with a nuclear weapon what they're doing now with the Straits. And I think the president's point is how anyone cannot see that as an unacceptable outcome and an unacceptable risk is beyond him. It's puzzling. And someone has to do something about it. The difference between this president and like the 6 presidents that preceded him were that he's the only one that's actually been willing to do something about it. Everyone says Iran can't have a nuclear weapon, but you got to do something about it at some point. And he's been willing to address that threat. And that's what he promised he would do when he got elected, by the way, is address threats like this.
Secretary.
Yeah, I wish I knew your names,
thank you
guys.
so
I
much, Mr.
apologize.
Secretary.
Can you put name tags on?
Thank you
That
so
would
much,
help.
Mr.
Okay.
Secretary.
Who are you with? Who are you with?
I'm with Rubio Media Network.
Okay.
Mr. Secretary, the President has said multiple times that weapons were provided to the Kurdish groups to pass on the Iranian people. However, Kurdish political parties and the regional government says they have not received such weapons. Even some claim these weapons remain in the U.S. base in the region. Can you clarify who those weapons were given to and whether you intend to retrieve them or still want to pass to the Iranian people?
Yeah, look, ultimately, what the president is expressing, and I think has repeatedly, is he wished the Iranian people had, look, he's heartbroken by these images. You think about it, you're an Iranian, okay? You're unhappy that your economy doesn't work for you. You don't have freedom. You don't have an opportunity to express yourself. You've got friends that have been shot in the head because they're out protesting. And it's heartbreaking to him to see that these people are abused in this way and have no measures to take against their own government as a result of it. By the way, this goes back, if you guys remember the protests in 2009 where they slaughtered people in the street. This is a vicious regime, guys. Okay? These are people that hang people from the cranes in the town square so everyone can see. They continue these executions of people and have continue to do so for over a decade and a half now. And so I think what the president is expressing is the desire that he wishes the Iranian people had an ability to fight back against some of these things that are happening to them. And I would view that as distinct and separate from the specifics of this operation that was ongoing before it concluded, and certainly different from the operation that's going on now. Right there in the...
Regarding Colombia, Mr. Secretary...
Right behind you, not Colombia, right there. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Secretary, thank you so much. On Lebanon, are
Yes.
we in a ceasefire or less fire? And the second question, do you think you would be able to achieve an agreement between Lebanon and Israel without risking a civil war in Lebanon? What are you doing to risk? What are you doing to...
No, I got it. I got the gist of your question. So look, here's the challenge with Lebanon, okay? There's no problem between the Lebanese government and the Israeli government. Israel doesn't claim any land in Lebanon belongs to them. And by and large, I think a peace deal between Lebanon and Israel is imminently achievable and should be. The problem with Israel and Lebanon is not Israel or Lebanon, it's Hezbollah. Hezbollah operates from inside of Lebanese territory. They terrorize and attack Israelis, but they also are inflicting tremendous damage on the Lebanese people. The reason why Lebanon gets attacked by Israel is because of Hezbollah, because Hezbollah is hiding in some house, launching rockets against Israelis, and then they get hit. So what you're seeing now is Israeli responses to either attacks or perceived threats. And this is not new. This has been going on for a very long time. What is our hope? Our hope is to engage the Lebanese and Israeli governments under our mediation at the table to achieve this. And that is having Lebanese armed forces and a Lebanese government, not just with a willingness, but with the capability to begin to challenge Hezbollah and disarm them. Because the Lebanese people are also victims of Hezbollah. And by the way, on the topic of Hezbollah and Lebanon, who is behind Hezbollah? Why do they exist? They're an agent of Iran. If you go through that Middle East and you identify every problem, Hamas, Hezbollah, to some extent the Houthis, obviously, and others, behind every one of these groups is Tehran. So apart from the nuclear weapons, apart from all these other things, these guys are behind all the bad actors. Hezbollah is a wing. It's an extension of Iranian desire to destabilize the region. So we're very committed to this process. It's not going to be easy. You're asking me a complex question. You know this has been going on for a very long time. It's not going to be easy. We're going to do everything we can to make sure that both sides continue to talk so that progress can be made on some sort of permanent ceasefire that isn't constantly spoiled by Hezbollah and by Hezbollah violence. Right in the middle, right there.
Thank you, sir.
I'm winging it, guys, okay? Right there, yes, sir.
You mentioned the 2 U.S. ships that safely
Yeah.
crossed the Strait of Hormuz. Are other ships being told it's safer to get back to regular levels, or are we still going to see limits in place for the foreseeable future?
For obvious reasons, I'm not going to broadcast who we're talking to or who we're telling them to move. I mean, we want these operations to be safe, and I think as it unfolds and ships get through, we'll make those announcements after the fact, just for operational security purposes. But the goal here is pretty simple. Establish a zone of transit that is protected by a bubble, the United States, both naval and air assets, and then allow ships who want to move through there and get to market, to begin to increase confidence in the ability to do so. That doesn't happen in 12 hours. It takes time to set up that bubble and gain that confidence, but that's the goal. We have been in touch. We've been in touch, I don't know, with a bunch of different liners about moving, and we're hoping to continue to improve the security situation, and we'll start to see some of that movement, and we'll announce it as it happens after the fact. We're not going to be like broadcasting, hey, tomorrow at 12, ship X is going to be coming through, for obvious reasons, because that degrades the security. But we feel confident we're going to be able to achieve that. Look, it's not going to solve the whole Straits problem. It's going to solve a lot of it, but it's important to challenge what Iran is doing now. Guys, again, I wonder if you take anything away today, and I can't tell you what to write, but Iran cannot be allowed to normalize this control of the Straits. It's completely unlawful, illegal. It's outrageous. And every country in the world should be joining us and condemning it and doing something about it. But the United States has stepped up and is trying to do something about it.
Regarding Colombia, Mr. Secretary, we've had several tourists.
I'm sorry. We'll see if we get to Colombia today. Go ahead. You guys have an election. Why don't you wait till after your election?
Mr. Secretary, Tom Michael Ross with Daily Mail. I was curious about your meeting with Southcom earlier. There was a picture, a map of Cuba behind you. What did you discuss with Southcom about Cuba? And do you have any updates on?
I'm not going to tell you what I discussed with Southcom.
but it had to do something with Cuba.
No,
what about?
Cuba's in Southcom. You know,
Fair
it's the
enough.
closest part. And so the second point, I was there. Our ambassadors were in from the whole Western Hemisphere. I was addressing them. Meeting the general who just took command of Southcom. And there happened to be a map of Cuba. And I said, it'd be good if we took a picture in front of that map, because it's like the closest thing in Southcom to the United States. So there it is. We have maps of other countries. Huh?
What about Greenland? Did you update on Greenland?
No, they didn't have that map then. They only had in the red, right there in the red.
In the red, okay. Cristina de Telemundo, Mr. Sec. Can I ask you in Spanish or can I
Yeah,
ask
you can answer in Spanish. You can ask me.
Okay.
And they'll have to translate for them what you asked
So
me.
I'll say it in English, and if you can answer in both languages. Today I checked the webpage of the State Department, and there's still a $25 million bounty on Diosdado Cabello, the Secretary of Interior, for drug trafficking and narco-terrorism. I was wondering if that has been put on hold, or if you're negotiating with President Delcy Rodriguez to turn him over.
I don't have any updates for you on that.
No.
The website is what it is, and that's where it stands. That policy hasn't changed. But guys, let's be mature here a little bit. I'm not going to tell you about what we're talking about with the leader of these countries.
El Departamento de Estado sigue considerando a Diosdado Cabello un narcoterrorista y un narcotraficante, como dice en la página del Departamento de Estado.
La política de Estados Unidos en ese tema no ha cambiado, y cuando cambie te dejaremos saber. The politics of the United States on that, the policy of the United States on that topic hasn't changed. When it does, obviously we'll inform you, but I don't have any news for you on that today. Right there in the green. I'll get to you guys. Right there in the green. Are you guys all the TV people?
Yeah.
All right, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go. I'm learning. They gave me a little map. I don't know where I put it of the people here. Some of you have like red X's. I'm kidding. No, it's not true. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. The average price of gas in the country right now is $4.50. Do you have a thought on how long Americans are supposed to kind of accept this? Do you think it will affect Republicans' majorities in the midterms?
Well, I'm not going to speculate on the politics of it. You can tell me. Look, it's obviously being driven by global events. That was true during the Russia-Ukraine war as well, where you saw that come up. Look, we don't benefit from the Straits as much as other countries. I don't know if you've seen what the gas prices are like in other parts of the world that are really suffering big time. So we're very fortunate that the United States, I believe right now, is like the world's largest net exporter of oil and natural gas as a result, and not because of this war, but because we have this capacity. So we've been insulated to some degree. We're obviously still vulnerable to some extent to global prices, and so, but in the end, I mean, we're more insulated than other countries, even though that's not welcome news to Americans that are paying more at the pump, no doubt about it. And it certainly is one of the circumstances of it. There are people who are predicting it would be much higher at this point, but we're not taking that for granted. Suffice it to say that think about it this way. Everybody needs to think about it this way. If Iran had a nuclear weapon, and they decided to close the straits and make our gas prices like $9 a gallon or $8 a gallon, we wouldn't be able to do anything about it because they have a nuclear weapon. And a nuclear-armed Iran could do whatever the hell they want with the straits, and there's nothing anyone would be able to do about it. And that's one of the many reasons, apart from like the massive loss of life in a nuclear strike, why Iran can never have a nuclear weapon. I mean, so this is an example of, if they had a nuclear weapon, they closed the straits and they would tell the world, what are you going to do about it? We have a nuclear weapon, we can attack you with it. That's the world none of us want to leave behind. It won't happen under this president's watch, but some future president and future, in the future Americans will have to deal with this. So just one more example of why these guys can never be allowed to have a nuclear weapon. Right there, in the black. Right, you in the black, yes ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
Where you, no, right there, you both are wearing black.
Thank you.
She's closer. No, you don't have black. You have blue on. I'm colorblind, but I know blue and black. Right there. Yes, ma'am. No, you. The first one I called on.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
Thank you. This is chaos, guys. Go ahead.
Welcome to the White House.
You've long been a leading voice on human rights in China, and so including religious persecution and forced organ harvesting. So President Trump prepares to meet Xi Jinping next week. Do you expect human rights concerns to be on the table?
Well, we always raise those issues, and they remain true. And I think we've proven in some cases it's most effective to raise them in the appropriate setting. But we always raise those issues. They're important to us, among with others, of course. But those issues remain prominent in our view and in our conversation about these things. And we'll continue to raise them in the appropriate forums. All right, so let's get to the front. These guys are going to get mad. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Sergeant Kelly, Associated Press. You mentioned earlier that some countries have privately and publicly indicated their willingness to help with Project Freedom. Can you say how many have reached out to the U.S. With the offers of help, and what kind of capabilities?
Well, thank you for your question. That's a good question. I mean, multiple countries have said we got to do something about it and fix it.
Is it like dozens or single digits or more than 100? Or?
I don't know. I don't put a number on it. I would just tell you that here's what I would say about it. The capabilities is the issue. Okay, a lot of countries would love to do something about it. They don't have a navy, right? Or they can't get there in time, or they can't. Others, are less. That some unfortunately do have a navy are saying, oh, we'll be involved, but we'll be involved after it's over. Well, after it's over, it's kind of like that makes sense. So, we'd like to have it. Now, there may be some utility in a post, closure mission. I'm not downplaying that, but I think that's been the challenge. But there are other ways they can help, unique ways that they can help. And I don't want to get into who these countries are for obvious reasons, because they are prepared to help us in certain ways, but maybe don't want that publicly disclosed for no other reason than it impact their foreign policy. It could have some domestic ramifications. But ultimately, I don't want to mislead you. The primary responsibility for this Project Freedom is on the United States, because we're the only country that can project power in that part of the world the way we're doing now. We're the only ones that can do it, and we're going to do it as a favor to the world. Understand this. This is a favor to the world because it's their ships that are stranded. It's their fuel supplies that are stranded. By the way, there's humanitarian aid destined for different countries in the world that's stranded in the Persian Gulf right now. It's the fertilizer that they need for their food and crops that's stranded in the Persian, not our fertilizer, their fertilizer. So we want to be helpful, and that's why the president stepped forward, because we're the only ones that can. Frankly, we're the only ones that can.
Mr. Secretary, on the rising oil and gas prices, the president has said that this is a small price to pay for getting rid of a nuclear weapon. But 10 weeks in, are we any closer to getting rid of Iran's nuclear material?
Yeah, but look, here's the way to think about Iran, and this is what I described at the very beginning of this. What was Iran's plan? You have to understand what their plan was. Their plan was they were going to build this conventional shield where they would have so many thousands of missiles and drones and rockets that they couldn't be attacked. And behind that conventional shield that they were trying to build, they would then break out and do whatever they wanted with their nuclear program. They no longer have that conventional shield. Okay, we told you guys from the very beginning, and we're very consistent in this messaging. The operation that has concluded was going to destroy their navy. They have no navy left. They don't. Not a navy. They have small boats and Boston whalers, but they don't have a navy left. They don't have an air force. I challenge you. When is the last time you read or heard about an Iranian jet flying anywhere? They don't have an air force. Their missile launching capability has been substantially degraded, and their industrial base, their defense industrial base, has been severely, severely damaged. So their ability to build a shield behind which they could hide their nuclear program was wiped out. That's a very substantial achievement, and that was the purpose of this operation from day one.
Their nuclear material in order for this war to end.
Well, that's one of the topics that needs to be discussed. I don't know about. I think you're linking it. The operation is over. Epic Fury, as the president notified Congress, we're done with that stage of it. Okay, we're now on to this project of freedom. As far as a negotiation is concerned, I think the president's been clear that part of the negotiation process has to be not just the enrichment, but what happens to this material that's buried deep somewhere that they still have access to if they ever wanted to dig it out. That has to be addressed, and that's being addressed in the negotiation. I'm not going to go further on what progress has been made on that topic because I don't want to endanger the negotiations, but suffice it to say that the president and this entire team is aware of the centrality of that question, and that will have to be addressed one way or the other. Right there. Right there. Yes. Thank you.
Secretary, I have another two-part question for you.
Okay.
First, are you taking part in those negotiations that you just detailed there? And then secondly, President Trump has made it clear that the U.S. doesn't rely on the Strait of Hormuz. So why should Americans even care about Project Freedom and these shipping tankers going through?
Well, I think on the second point is the one I want to address first, and that is why should Americans care and why it matters to us? Because ultimately these things have an impact on the global economy, which ultimately has an impact on our economy in the long term. That's number one. Number two, because if we live in a world where a rogue state like this Iranian regime is allowed to claim as a new normal control over international shipping lane, it will not be long before you see that happen in multiple shipping lanes around the world. I can identify for you six or seven vital shipping lanes around the world that some countries can decide, guess what, if Iran was able to do it, we're going to do it too. We're not going to start charging tolls. And it'll get closer and closer to us. That's unacceptable. We cannot live in a world. There's a lot of time and energy been invested behind the idea that international waters are free for the free flow of goods. The stuff we make in this country and export has to go through international shipping lanes. And for us to live in a world where a country can decide, now we own the international shipping lane and you have to pay us if you want to use it, that is a normal that we will never be able to accept. And that's what the Iranians are trying to get us to do. So we're doing two things about it, and we haven't talked about the second one enough. The second thing we're doing is we're going to the UN. Everybody loves the UN, right? We're trying to go to the UN, and we're saying, okay, countries of the world, condemn this. Say that it is wrong for you to put mines there. It is wrong for you to shoot at commercial vessels. Guys, that's what we're talking about here. These guys are bombing commercial vessels. They're not bombing naval vessels. They're bombing commercial tankers. It's just outrageous. That needs to stop, and it needs to end. And if it doesn't, then the world should be diplomatically and economically isolating Iran as well. But if we live in a world where global shipping lanes can be taken over by countries, that'll have a direct impact on Americans in the short and the long term, and we can't let it start by Iran doing it. And we're the only ones that can do anything about it. All right. Right there in the green. Go ahead. Yes.
Mr. Secretary, does the president intend to press Beijing on its Taiwan policy when he visits China next week?
I'm sure Taiwan will be a topic of conversation. It always is. As you know, we understand the Chinese understand our position on that topic. We understand theirs. And I think both parties, without getting ahead of myself of what will happen in the talks, but I think both countries understand that it is neither one of our interests to see anything destabilize happen in that part of the world. We don't need any destabilizing events to occur with regards to Taiwan or anywhere in the Indo-Pacific. And I think that's to the mutual benefit of both the United States and the Chinese.
Secretary Brazil, Kara Castanova from Lindell TV. Thank you for taking my question today. How does the State Department...
What happened? Why is everybody giggling? What happened? Oh. I'm sorry. Are they mean to you?
No, they're not mean.
Oh, okay.
I don't think they are. I hope not. But I'm Kara from Lindell TV, and nice to ask you a question today, sir. How does the State Department interpret the president's recent remarks when he said, quote, the Iranian people need to have guns, and I think they are getting some guns, end quote. What did he mean, and do those comments relate to any ongoing or potential U.S. actions like supplying those weapons?
Well, I think it goes back to the question I was asked a moment ago. I think the president thinks it's heartbreaking that the Iranian people are abused by this regime the way they are. In the end, I mean, this regime is not... Guys, I know I've said this. I think I said this in my hearing before the Senate when I got confirmed. I don't know of any country in the world where there's a bigger difference between the people and the people who run the country. Okay, this country is run by radical Shia clerics. And that's not what Iran and the Iranian people are. Now, they may be Shia, but they're not radicals and they're not clerics, and they just want a normal life and a regular life, and in many ways a very cosmopolitan country with an incredible history and incredible legacy and the like. So there's this huge divide between the people of Iran, whom we sympathize with, and who the president sympathizes with, because they're the ones suffering. Look, the world is a victim of Iran, okay? The world is a victim of Iran because they're terrorists, because of what they're doing now in the Straits. But the people of Iran are daily victims of the regime, and the president has deep sympathy for what they're going through. And I think he's just expressing that sympathy and that frustration that they don't have the ability to do more to get rid of this regime that has crushed this country and isolated it from the world, which is a country that shouldn't be isolated from the world because its people are phenomenal. All right. I wish I had like a dice. Go ahead. Yeah. No, right there, because I'm going to Italy. Voy a Italia. Déjame hablar con el señor. Okay. He's Italian. I know him. He used to cover Capitol Hill. You're Italian, right?
For many years.
For many years. Okay.
Daniele Papatangelo, thank you, Mr. Secretary. So I have two short questions for you.
Oh, damn, two questions.
First, as you head to the Vatican and Italy, how do you view the Pope's global role amid current geopolitical shift? And what are your objectives in Italy? Is this trip tied to recent remarks by the President suggesting Italy has not been supported as expected? And the second one is about the Hezbollah in Lebanon. On a recent interview on Fox News, you raised some concern about stronger vetting within the Lebanese armed forces. What do you make? Can you elaborate a little bit?
Yeah, I've answered the first one about the Vatican. Look, I mean, the Pope is obviously the vicar of Christ, is a Roman Catholic, but he's also the head of a nation state, and it's an organization that has a presence in over 100-something countries around the world. And we engage with the Vatican quite a bit because they're present in many different places. I've already outlined to you two examples. We worked with the Catholic Church on the distribution of humanitarian aid in Cuba. We share with the Catholic Church a concern about the destruction of religious liberty, the persecution of Christian minorities, and also, the challenges that are being faced by Christians in Africa, where the Pope just recently visited. So we have a lot to talk about with them, and I engage with them quite a bit on that front. So the trip is really not tied to anything other than the fact that it would be normal for us to engage with them, and other Secretary of States have done that in the past. On the second point about Lebanon, also a question that was asked earlier, and what was the Italian part?
About the expectation that the President...
Oh, no, look, I mean, the Italians have been involved for some time in training the police and in training their forces, so we'd love to hear their input on it. And in the way, look, we welcome everybody's help eventually. What has to happen in Lebanon, what everybody wants to see, is that you have a Lebanese government with the capability to go after Hezbollah and take the Hezbollah apart. There shouldn't be a Hezbollah and a government. There should be a government. Everyone should fold underneath it. And if we do that, then there will be peace between Israel and Lebanon. But we have to build the capacity of the Lebanese to do it. And I think Italy could be helpful in that regard. All right. Did I call on you already? You already got a question? In the green? Did I call on you already?
No.
Okay, all right. Go ahead.
You mentioned the UN resolution that
Yes.
you announced today. Can you talk about what the goal is with that resolution? And there was a similar one last month that was vetoed by China and Russia. You spoke to the Russian foreign minister. Do you have an assurance that Russia will be on board with this now?
Well, we don't know. Look, I mean, everyone wouldn't want to see this vetoed again, and then we've made some slight adjustments to the language, but I don't know if it'll avoid a veto or not, but the language isn't very complicated. And I think it's a real test for the UN, right? As something that functions that can solve global problems. What is the purpose of the UN? The UN was supposed to be a place where you could peacefully resolve global conflict. Right now you have a country who is unlawfully, criminally, and illegally taking possession of an international waterway and blowing up commercial vessels and putting mines in the water. I don't know if people appreciate how outrageous this is, how unacceptable it is that any country would fire and try to sink commercial vessels or put mines in the water. Both of these things are illegal. And so we're going to take it to the UN, and we're going to give it another chance to be a forum in which we're not even asking people to commit troops to the region and help blow up the Iranian boats. All we're asking them to do is to condemn it, to call on Iran to stop blowing ships, to remove these mines, and to allow humanitarian relief to come through, because there's humanitarian aid that's trapped. That's it. This is a very modest request. And if you're telling me that the international community and hundreds of countries cannot rally behind that, then I don't know what the utility of the UN system is, if it can't even solve something as straightforward as that. And I think to both the Chinese and the Russians, I would argue and have argued that it is in their interest for that resolution to pass and for pressure to be brought on Iran, because it is in their interest not to see international waterways, including the Straits of Hormuz, be closed down and cause economic chaos to dozens and dozens of countries around the world. Okay. Back row, yellow tie. Back row,
Secretary,
yeah.
CBN News, you've had a deep faith for God and country. At the end of the day, with all that you've
I
been
like this
involved
question.
in,
Keep going.
you've been extremely busy.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
As we all know. I got to ask you, what is your hope for America at a time such as this?
My hope for America?
And how do you personally deal with that?
Yeah, look, I mean, my hope for America is what it's always been. I think it's the hope I hope we all share. We want it to continue to be the place where anyone from anywhere can achieve anything, where you're not limited by the circumstances of your birth, by the color of your skin, by your ethnicity, but frankly, it's a place where you are able to overcome challenges and achieve your full potential. I think that should be the goal of every country in the world, frankly, but I think in the U.S., we're not perfect. Our history is not one of perfection, but it's still better than anybody else's history, and ours is a story of perpetual improvement. Each generation has left the next generation of Americans freer, more prosperous, safer, and that is our goal as well. But it is a unique and exceptional country, and as we come upon this 250-year anniversary, I think we have a lot to learn and be proud of in our history. It is one of perpetual and continuous improvement, where each generation has done its part to bring us closer to fulfilling the vision that the founders of this country had upon its founding. So, thank you. All right. I have time for 2 more questions. That's crazy. All right, right there in the pink. No, you right there. That lady. No, the one right next to you in the pink. No, the pink. I'm sorry, but I pointed at her. I need to get a laser pointer and just go. Now you in the pink jacket, the lady right there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Secretary. I have a question on Iran-China relations.
Okay.
What's your reaction to Iranian foreign minister visit to China? Also, Beijing instructed its firms to ignore U.S. sanctions. Could you also address that?
Well, I'll direct you to Treasury on that front. There are options that we have. If you ignore our sanctions, you're going to face secondary sanctions. And I don't have an announcement for you on that today, but we don't do these things, for symbolic purposes. On the first point about the visit, it's fine. I hope the Chinese tell him what he needs to be told, and that is that what you are doing in the Straits is causing you to be globally isolated. You're the bad guy in this. You guys should not be blowing up ships. You should not be putting mines. You should not be trying to hold hostage the global economy. I hope the Chinese bring, whether it's done privately, but I hope it's done directly, that's the message they deliver to them. As I outlined earlier today, China is an export-driven economy. Okay, I'm not here to speak on behalf of what's in the best interest of China, but it's obvious. China is an export-driven economy. That means they depend on other countries to buy from them. Well, you can't buy from them if you can't ship it there, and you can't buy from them if your economy is being destroyed by what Iran is doing. So it is in China's interest that Iran stop closing the Straits. It's harming China as well. The gentleman in the red tie, right there. Yes, I'm sorry, what's your name?
Liz Landers with PBS News Hours.
Okay.
Another question about the China-Iran relationship. You said at the beginning of your comments at the top that every single financial situation will be targeted. Does that include Chinese banks? Would the president sanction
We're going to enforce our sanctions.
Chinese banks
I don't
before
have an announcement for you. That will have to come from Treasury. But we have sanctions in place. And sanctions don't mean anything unless, you're going to do something about them. So I think that's been clear. I think that the Treasury will follow up with any specific announcements. Suffice it to say, we're serious about our sanctions. Then a cost needs to be imposed on Iran for what they are doing. Otherwise, if they get away with this, guys, if they get away with pulling this thing off without paying a price for it and backing down, you're going to see multiple places around the world where other countries are going to be tempted to do the same. This is unacceptable. Again, I want to reiterate the point. We keep arguing back and forth about the war and the shooting and this and that and the other. These guys have shut down an international waterway. The Straits of Hormuz do not belong to Iran. They don't have a right to shut it down and blow up ships and lay mines. And that's what they've done. That needs to be addressed. Otherwise, and it cannot be normalized. Under no circumstances can we live in a world where we accept, okay, this is normal. You have to coordinate with Iran. You have to pay them a toll in order to go through the Straits of Hormuz. Not only is that unacceptable in the Straits, you're creating a precedent that could be repeated in multiple other places around the world. The whole world should join us in this condemnation, and the whole world should join us in doing something about it, by the way. It shouldn't just be us. We're hoping to get countries. We're going to give them a chance to do something about it at the United Nations. All right, my last question. All right, that lady in the right there in the white.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
Right next to
Thank you.
Okay, hold on, stop this up. Go ahead. Okay, I'll do 2 more and then I gotta go. You in the back. Yeah, go ahead. Iran has shown what? Okay.
Iran
Iran has shown that it's been able to withstand a lot of pressure. And yesterday, President Trump has said that they may run out of oil storage in 2 weeks. Do you believe that that will be the thing that gets them to the table to give up their nuclear ambitions? And if not, what will be that thing?
Well, look, they're suffering devastating damage to their economy. You're right, but it's not that they're able to withstand pressure, it's that they don't care that their people are suffering. You understand, right? There's a difference between we can withstand pressure and we actually don't care. Now, I think there are people in their system that care more than others. You know, some of the elected people that you see, some of the people you see on television with the suits on, you know, those guys care because they know at the end of the day they have to live in the reality. And then you have another element of their government, the clerics, the IRGC types, who probably are more immune to that and care less. They're more interested in regime survival at all costs. But ultimately, the pressure points are what they are.
They divided now than they were before, because the administration has said that the Iranian regime is divided, making it very challenging.
Well, it's been challenging to deal with them diplomatically because, for example, an offer will be made and then it takes 5 or 6 days to get a response because you have to get it through the whole system. They have to find the supreme leader wherever he hides. They got to get him to sign off, and that's their system. Their system has always been multi-layered in this way. It's obviously become more complex because of the damage they suffered during the war. But look, suffice it to say, Iran has to pay a price. They're not going to change their position out of the kindness of their heart. There has to be a pressure point on them that causes them to realize they cannot continue to close the straits, or they face crushing economic consequences, but also, you know, global diplomatic isolation, which they have proven in the past to be susceptible to. But you're right, they have a high pain threshold, but they don't have an unlimited pain threshold. Nobody does. All right, this has to be the last question. Go ahead.
Secretary, many people want to know, what is your DJ name?
My DJ name?
Your DJ name.
You're not ready for my DJ name.
On the war, if the fighting were to resume, because you've said that Operation Epic Fury is over, the president also said that the U.S. would bomb them off the face of the earth if they tried to go after U.S. ships. So if the fighting resumes, are you saying that it would resume under Project Freedom? And I ask, as it relates to the War Powers Act.
Yeah, look, the Operation Epic Fury is concluded. We achieved the objectives of that operation. I'm not going to, you know, we're not cheering for an additional situation to occur. We would prefer the path of peace. What the president would prefer is a deal. He would prefer to sit down, work out a memorandum of understanding for future negotiations that touches on all the key topics that have to be addressed, a full opening of the strait so the world can get back to normal. And he preferred that be negotiated through the route that Steve and Jared have been working and that all of us have been supporting. That's the route he prefers. That is so far not the route that Iran has chosen. And so the result has been that the United States has to do something about the fact that we're the only nation on earth that can do anything to open up a lane within the Straits of Hormuz to get product and to rescue these people that are trapped in there. And that's what we're undergoing now. What that may lead to in the future is speculative. I'm not going to speculate about what it would take or what it would do. But look, the message to Iran, these guys are facing, they are facing real catastrophic destruction to their economy, generational destruction to their economy, generational destruction to the wealth of their country, imposed on themselves by the actions that they're taking. They should check themselves before they wreck themselves in the direction that they're going.
Does the White House believe that these votes coming up in Congress are a moot point then?
Look, guys, I love talking about this topic. It's about the War Powers Act. Yeah. Okay, I love it. I was hoping somebody would ask. All right, hold on. No, boy, you don't let me answer. I got to answer the question. Okay, and I love it. I'll tell you why I love it. Because even as a senator, I said something. The War Powers Act is unconstitutional, 100%. Now, this is not the position of me, not the position of the President of the United States now. This is the position of every single president that has occupied this position since the day that law passed. It's completely unconstitutional. Now, we comply with it in terms of like notification because we want to preserve good relations with Congress, right? And we do that. But even as a senator, I would say that the War Powers Act is 100% unconstitutional. And look, I know some of you, whatever you want to say, but this is not this president's position. That has been the position of every single presidential administration since the day that law passes. An infringement on the president's constitutional powers. We don't acknowledge the law as constitutional. Nonetheless, we comply with elements of it for purposes of maintaining, good relations with Congress. And we want them to be involved and we want them to be informed. I have gone on Capitol Hill, 4 times this year for all senators and all House members and Intel Committee and Gang of 8. We want them to be involved in this, but I want to be clear on the point of the War Powers Act. It's unconstitutional, and every president and every administration has taken that position. All right, guys, I gave you 50 minutes. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Everybody trying to take advantage of Marco Rubio because he doesn't know who he's supposed to call. There you go, my peeps. All right, I'll let you guys go ahead and ask me some questions. I'll give you guys a little bit of time. Let me see if I got my call-in available here. All right, let's go. Let's move this over here. Well, no, let's just leave that there. It's horrible. This is the only reason why I don't like to multi-stream. Let me see. What's locked? Jesus, help me, Lord. I'm trying to organize it here. Hold on. Just call me. Just call me. There you go. Give me a call. Don't block your number. I will allow you to ask me one free question. Since everybody is suffering from gas, nobody has money on their EBT card to put a super chat for questions. So I'll give you a free question. All right? Very limited time, but go for it. Let's see. Who do we got on here? Let me see. Let's see. Icarus, no. Trump is born again with, well, you know what? Everybody should be responsible for their own salvation. We deliver the message of the good news and the salvation of our souls. At the end, everybody is responsible for their souls. Jews are also responsible for their souls. They are no more special than anybody around. All right, we got Robert calling in. What's going on, big bro?
Hey, Dennis,
¿Qué
you
pasa?
know what second place means, right?
Well, who the what?
You know what second place for the Democrats means, right?
What does that mean?
They're the first place losers and they don't get participation trophies anymore.
Oh, man, that's bad news for them. You know what? The only time that we lose, technically, that we lose is in civil war, when we fight each other. But there's always a side that wins and there's always a side that loses. And we really lose when the bad side wins and everybody has to be punished. You notice that every time a good side wins, everybody receives the rewards of those fights.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I want some of these guys that somebody that is against me to call me and ask me a question.
Take World War II as an example, Dennis. Okay, the Germans lost World War II. Okay, the Austrians lost. Italy lost. What'd we do? We went and helped them rebuild.
That's what we always do. It's what America stands for. And that's why, my friend, I always defend it.
If you really think about how they lose the war, they benefited by new infrastructure.
Yeah, well, you know what? I have my theories about that.
You know, I mean, come on, people. The U.S. isn't a bunch of cold-hearted assholes that go bomb the shit out of you and then let you fend for yourselves. Christ, we even rebuilt Japan, and now they're kicking our ass in technology.
Yeah, well, kind of. That we have stuff that we haven't put out there in the open. So, but
I know, Dennis. I'm talking about stuff they have put out in the open, and it's kicking our asses.
Well, I mean, it looks like it depends on how much propaganda they give it, I guess.
Yeah, but you know, I mean, these people saying, "Oh, Iran won the war," bullshit. Nobody wants to become the leader because they're scared of getting taken out.
Yeah.
That's what it boils down to.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I want people to call me in about gas prices. Give me a call, and if you have a question about Tucker, I would love to talk to you about Tucker. Robert, thank you for calling.
The only question I have about Tucker is, when do you think he's going to get fired permanently?
Well, I mean, he has his own thing. He can do his own thing. He has enough followers to make money and continue to do what they do. There's always there's always going to be an opportunity for leftist people to work against us. We have Russia, we have China, we have all these communist party paying protesters here in our country, and the leftist people don't even realize that our enemies are trying to make us fight each other. It just, that's why I go hard on them, bro.
Another thing that kills me too, Dennis, is they say this shit about the gas prices. It's only temporary.
Well,
it might last
kind of.
Another month or two, but damn.
Yeah. You know what? I'll talk about it right now, bro. Let me see if I can get some of these people to call me in.
All right. Bye.
Thank you, Robert. Love you, brother. All right, I need you guys to call in. This is your chance. Don't waste it. Don't waste it. Let's talk about gas prices. Give me a call. Don't be shy. I won't bite. Maybe I'll nibble a little bit. Maybe I'll just nibble just a little bit. Here we go. We'll give you guys a couple of minutes here of music intermission while you guys make up your mind and see if you want to call, because we are going to head in to our next live from earlier this morning. So let's go. I'll tell you what we're going to do is, while we wait for you guys, let me see if I hope I did it right. Let me check this out. Let's take a look. The number's right there on your screen. Give me a call. Let's talk about gas prices. and once the music is gone, you just miss it, don't you? Yeah. But let's go, guys. Don't waste too much of my time, please. I do value my time, so don't waste it, please. Trump is the man. I don't know why these people be freaking out about Trump. I really don't. Here, just to help you guys a little bit, let me go ahead and give you some leftist help. Let's take a listen to CNN for a little bit, and then maybe this will encourage you guys to call in. Okay, here you go.
One of the big issues ahead of this June 2nd primary in California, just like it is around the country, is the cost of living. With us now, CNN chief data analyst Harry Enton. We talk about gas prices every day here. Another big jump overnight to this multi-year high. We talk about the national average. In California, even bigger.
Oh, my goodness gracious. I mean, just take a look at the price of gasoline for a gallon of gas. The national average right now is $4.48, but you think that's bad. Go out to the left coast. Top in the United States, $6.13. There's even a gas station out there where the cost is about $10 per gallon. And of course, if you've ever been out there, you always know that the prices in California for a gallon of gas are just simply put absolutely outrageous, running well ahead of the national average. The folks in California really getting hurt by this increase in gas prices.
Part of the reason for that is they have a higher gas tax, right?
That's exactly right. One of the big reasons why you see this big difference right here is, in fact, the gas tax out in California, and our partners at USA Facts help provide this data for us. Take a look here, the state gas tax and fees per gallon. You know, in the average state, it's 33 cents. California, again, the top in the nation, more than double that. It's 71 cents. Now, Johnny B., the quick math here is what, a difference of 38 cents?
That's a tough one. That's a tough one to do in your head, but yes, 38.
Yes, it's 38. I know, it's very, very difficult. My math lessons, you're trying to work this morning. 38 cents. You know, a decade ago, the difference here was just 11 cents. So what you're essentially seeing here is that Californians are feeling the pain more and more over the last decade when it goes to the gas pump, because one of the big reasons why is the state gas tax and fees per gallon have been climbing ever higher.
How do voters there feel about this?
Okay, so you see this 38 cent difference here. You see this, what is this, nearly $2 difference here. And not much of a surprise here. California standards for energy and gas, not worth the added gas costs. Look at this. Among all voters, 57% say it's not worth it. Among independents, it's 61%.
I'm just playing this video so that the people in here that want to talk about gas get some more information about it. Now, when you call my number, don't call with a block number. I think it was very clear when I put on there that when you call, you don't block your number. The reason for that is because I've had people call in and they just don't want to conversate. They just want to curse and just say a bunch of nonsense and then hang up. So those numbers I will block so that we don't have to put up with that nonsense. So in case you were wondering, okay? Okay.
It's going to be very interesting to see if there's a question tonight when it comes to those gas costs, because Californians are clearly feeling the pain, and many of them at this point say, you know what, it's just simply put, not worth it.
They're going to be talking tons about the cost of living tonight. I can almost guarantee it, but it'll be interesting to see where they place the blame, on California, on the Gavin Newsom regime, or on President Trump. I think it will depend on which party they are in.
Yeah, I think it might just be John.
Harold Litton, thank you very much for that.
The price of gas surging this morning, according to AAA. The national average price for a gallon of gas is now $4.48. That's up 30 cents in just 1 week. Let's go live right now to CNN business and politics correspondent Vanessa Yurkevich. Vanessa, will we see $5 gas by June?
That is what some analysts are projecting, Wolf. But the national average, as you said, jumping 30 cents in just the last week alone. $4.48 is the national average. Look at that, a week ago, $4.18, and a month ago, $4.11. We're up about 40% in terms of gas prices from a year ago, and we're up 50% since the start of the war. Some analysts believe if the Strait of Hormuz remains closed for the next month, we could see prices jump to $4.75. But there are some analysts, Wolf, that are projecting that we could see $5 a gallon gas if the Strait remains closed for another month. Now, if you compare sort of what we've been talking about, the last time we saw $5 gas was in 2022 when the war with Russia and Ukraine broke out. If you look at this line chart, looking at 2022, you can see that essentially the same timeline. February is when the war started. You had gas prices climbing. And then you saw by June of 2022, that is when we saw that $5.02 a gallon gas. That is the last record that we've seen. Here in 2026, we are on a similar trajectory, Wolf. Some differences. Gas prices started higher in 2022, and we were coming off the pandemic. But this is a much more severe global energy shock to the entire global system. And that is why we are seeing prices rising so quickly. And as long as we see oil, Wolf, trading above $100 a gallon, many analysts do believe we are on our way to $5 and breaking that $5.02 record that we set in 2022, Wolf.
Florida, thanks for calling. Who's calling? Mark, how are you, Mark?
I'm good.
What you got, Mark?
Thank you. Well, I wanted to just call in and give my opinion, an educated opinion on what's going on. And thank you for taking my call.
Yeah, no problem. Go ahead.
Okay. So there is a very reputable rabbi, Jonathan Caine. He started out as an atheist. He then became a Jewish rabbi, Jonathan Caine, Kahn, and then he became a born-again Christian. Now, I'm 65 years old, and I've finally realized that he is one of the most reputable, respectable pastors, or whatever you want to call him. He's a rabbi originally, but that can take anything that you can imagine in Scripture, Old Testament, New Testament, and give you the correct translation.
Interpretation,
translation, yes. But he is very fluent also in Hebrew language because he speaks Hebrew. He's Jewish.
Yeah.
So he has made hundreds of videos from the Old Testament to the New Testament. But one thing about Trump that really struck me, that he's into the biblical numerology.
Yeah.
And he took the numerology of Trump's dad, Trump, their birth dates, when they went into office, everything. The numerology is there, my man. In other words, Trump is chosen of God. Trump is...
Yeah, I know.
Forget what Trump's past was.
Yeah, I know.
But in the modern day era of the Trump administration, he is the chosen one of God. I mean, we may never see death, you and I. Jesus may return before we see actual physical death.
Yeah, that can happen. Yeah, I believe it. I study a lot of prophecy. I just don't talk about it. It's not for me to say. I feel like
I mean,
let me tell you what I think about prophecies. The number one, let me clarify to the people what it means to be chosen. You know, one of the things that I hate about Hollywood, it's that they make fun of religion and they make a movie interpreting. This is why I clarify translating and interpreting is different. That
and
they have this show called
Illuminati. And
hold
all
on,
that,
hold on. Let me
they're
finish this. Let me finish this. Hold on.
Yeah.
So they make this movie about Jesus Christ and they call it The Chosen. Now, when you hear The Chosen today with Trump, people automatically on the left and some people on the right, they automatically come in to be a fanatic, a religious fanatic about the word chosen. Biden was chosen. Trump and Obama, all of them were chosen. But Trump was chosen for the time that we're in today. See, sometimes you have to look at the interpretation of biblical scripture. Sometimes it's history, sometimes it's futuristic signs so that we can become better people and be ready for that time. Biden was chosen so that we can see what the snakes do when they're in power. And when people saw the snake in power, then they voted for Trump. Now Trump is the chosen to tackle these terrorist people that we're fighting with today. And that is one interpretation of what I call a chosen one. So when I say Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior and President Trump, well, he's my president. That's exactly what I mean. Now, I can be chosen for many things. Believe me, there are some prophecies that has been given over my life that I'm just not going to be like, oh man, I got this prophecy, I got to do it. No, we still as Christians need to humble ourselves and know that in God's timing, everything will be done. Okay,
yes,
what was the second thing that you were trying to say?
Yes, humility, absent of arrogance or ego. Yes, humility is very important. You're right.
Did you want to add anything to that, or you want to talk about gas prices? You like that?
Oh gosh, I mean, my
on,
son is a Marine Corps combat veteran. He did the first 2 tours in Iraq. Our daughter is a police officer in the same vicinity where we live. I mean, we're very respectable people in our community, but we're also Christian.
God
and we
bless
like
you.
to think that we're born again. And we try to see through the veil, but
yeah,
I really appreciate your website and your streaming.
Oh, thank you for that. Remember this: we're not here to have a version of our own Bible. All we here for is we're passing through this temporary life. It's what's God's will. You know, we're all born into different cultures and beliefs and norms. But when we become Christians, sometimes we get too religious, you know, with the Bible, and we forget that the whole purpose of the Bible, the whole purpose of the history of the Old Testament, is to see our errors and to fix that, and to have a conviction, to change our minds. And instead of chasing religion, what you should be chasing is a relationship with God.
Yes,
You know,
absolutely.
we
Yes.
when we sinned, Adam and Eve, when we sinned, we fell short of the grace of God. We separated ourselves. And Jesus is the only way that we can come back to have that closeness to the Father God. And that's what we try to do. You know, some Catholics, they have what they, I forget what they call it, but it's like a sort of a punishment. They punish themselves when they do
Yes,
something bad.
My wife is Peruvian. She went to a private Catholic school in Lima, Peru, because her dad was very wealthy at the time. Yes, it's. I don't get me started on that. But
Well, what I'm saying is that, you know, maybe Catholics want to beat themselves up, but the way that I do that is I say, God, why do I do that? Why does that thought come inside my head? I don't want it. I'm so sorry that I am so weak. Father, forgive me. That's how I punish myself. You know, before somebody comes in here and tries to insult me, or before somebody comes in and judge me and say, oh my God, what kind of Christian are you? You're cursing left and right. You know what? I'm not your type of Christian. You be the best that you can be, and then we'll all be accountable, held accountable for everything that we do. And I always tell my people, I'm the kind of Christian that I need to be in our time today. We're not going to be ignorant. You know, one of the things that I can't stand, it's people from other religions, specifically Muslims, that want to come over to Christians and say, can I slap you on the face? Because the Bible says that if I slap you on the cheek, you have to turn the other cheek so that I can slap you there too. And I'm like, okay, number one, the interpretation that you just made is going to get you an ass kicking. You know, and when I see evangelicals out there preaching, they put up with a lot of stuff. I'm more on the rebellious Peter side, you know, like I believe that we are supposed to fight, you know, for respect, and, you know, we're supposed to make the law be respected, you know, to where some other people, they're so much better than me. See, there is okay Christians, there's good Christians, and then there's really good Christians. I'm okay. I'm an okay Christian, but I'm neither warm. Right? I'm not warm. I'm hot for God. I believe in Satan and I reject
you don't
it.
want to be lukewarm, right?
No, we don't want to be lukewarm. They'll be spit out. Yeah. Anyways, let me see if I can take some calls about gas.
Scripture also says, since the days of John the Baptist, the kingdom suffereth violence, and the violent take it by force. So we're not supposed to be a bunch of Christian placebos. But Jesus, when the disciples asked him, how should we pray? That's the prayer, you know, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed and holy is thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as is in heaven. And then I also say, when it says, you know, forgive me of my sins as I forgive those who sin against me, I include this. Forgive me for the lust of my eyes, the lust of my flesh, my pride and my self-will, because that pretty much covers everything. Peter is the one that said that in Scripture. And I asked it, forgive me for my racism, my discrimination, my prejudice, because The world these days is trying to get us to be divided to where we look at each other's nationality or the color of our skin and all these things to divide us. I think Satan is using that because he knows that if Christians accept everyone unconditionally, it's not going to help his cause, which is to just divide us.
Yes.
So, and my wife is Peruvian, I'm Caucasian, but I've learned over the years the most important thing that I can do is say, look, Heavenly Father, I'm not racist. I don't care if they're black or brown or yellow or whatever, but in social media and so many, TikTok, whatever, there's so much division going on. And now you got AI.
Yeah.
And AI, I believe, is demons. Demons control the AI. AI is being used as part of that great deception. Pretty soon, when you watch an AI video, you don't know if it's real or not. Pretty soon, we're going to be looking at the TV. There's going to be an AI video in the sky. It's going to show Jesus coming back in the clouds and all that. So that's why you have to be very careful on, what's happening in front of you, that you are able to perceive what's true and what's false, what's real and what's not real. AI is really messing things up right now. I don't know if you agree with me, but I'm 65 years old. I was around before the internet when we used to just go out and, enjoy life, in the woods, but now I have a 12-year-old grandson. He's so addicted to video games. The first thing he comes home from school, he's got to get in those video games. He gets all excited. He's screaming and yelling. And then because our daughter's a police officer, I watch a lot of police videos. I'm like, there's a lot of kids out there that are so consumed with their video games, and there's many that just yesterday, a kid's on his birthday, he got a Nintendo Switch. Okay, Dad says it's midnight, it's time to go to bed. You can't play your Nintendo Switch anymore. He went and searched the whole house for that Nintendo Switch, found his dad's safe, found the key to the gun that was also in that safe, took the gun, went into his dad's bedroom and shot his dad in the head and killed him.
Yeah, that's demonic.
I mean, so that's part of AI. I mean, it was a Nintendo Switch. And now look in the comments of all the videos. No one really mentioned the problem might be the addiction that the kids have towards, or with their Nintendo Switch. No, everyone's just saying, oh, the dad should have been better at hiding the key to his gun safe and all this. But there was nothing mentioned about the addiction that the kids have been put under like a spell with their video games. They're consumed with the video games to where that becomes their reality, which of course is virtual reality, but that becomes their reality. And if that means, hey, you pissed me off enough, I'm going to find a gun, I'm going to shoot you in the freaking head. And I'm sorry, I'm ranting.
It's all good. It's all right. Don't worry about it. I do thank you so much for your call. You are a big bro to me. Since you're 65, I'll be 50 next month. So I hope that you come back so that you can be with us during my 50th birthday. You'll be blessed. God bless your family. Thank you so much for your call. I appreciate it.
Yeah, when I was 4 years old, I accepted Jesus into my heart in Sunday school at church. 4 years old in Santa Barbara, California. So, and I've never strayed from the faith. I've become a little into the carnality of the human existence, but I've never given up on my faith and trust on Jesus to help me no matter what's going on.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you for taking my call.
You're very welcome. Be blessed. Take care. Oh man, I got to use the holder, man. My hand was tired holding the phone. All right, I'll take one more call. If you want to call in. Sorry, do you want me to call you, whoever was calling me from Hawaii? If you want me to call you, I can. Just put it on the chat and I'll call you back, okay? Hey, Samuel, welcome back, my friend. Was it Caine? Caine? Well, somebody else already called. Somebody beat you to it. You got a call from Texas. What's going on in Texas?
Hey, how you doing, Dennis? Good to hear from you again.
Good. Who's this?
This is Aaron. I've called you a few times.
Hey, Aaron.
I'm not Democrat. I'm Republican. I actually got.
Oh, it doesn't matter, brother. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, you're definitely because I know some people they won't talk to.
I don't care. If you're American, that's what I want. I don't want illegals to call me because they have no rights over what happens in our country. I don't want people that are already convinced that what they believe, that's it, and nobody can change their mind. Those kind of people is like, then why you call me? If you call me, it's because you want to maybe bring up a good point, maybe ask a question, clarification, and at the end we can agree or disagree. It's that simple, but people take it too serious, man.
And you're legit because like all the call people, I don't know if you've noticed this, but all the people that have call lines are all Democrats. I've only ever ran into you and some other Republican guy, and he was awful. I tried to ask him one question, he couldn't even speak English.
Oh, that's sad. That's sad.
But I wanted to ask you something. So I had listened to a little of your conversation with the last guy.
Yeah.
And I'm Catholic. I just became Catholic. I got baptized this Easter. Do you see us as fellow Christians?
Yeah.
I see you as a Christian.
Yeah, why not?
No problem.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah. Yeah,
You
I was
know,
just wondering, 'cause,
you
like,
remember this, brother.
I know you have your critiques and stuff, and I wanted to know.
I know. Well, I say this. Maybe Catholics don't like me because of what I say about them. But remember this. I get goosebumps when I talk to fellow people that actually believe in God. Listen, we are all in one way or another connected. This is, people that believe, that really truly have faith, become very sensitive to the Spirit. And whether you think that I am very horrible Christian or not that you do, but, it's talking to people in general, it's irrelevant. God can give a gift, and God can talk, and God can do with whoever he wants. And, you don't have to be perfect for God to use you. But let me tell you this, and I think this is so beautiful. The Apostle Paul, I love this, bro. I love this. There's such a revelation. This is such a revelation, and I want you to understand this. I don't want you to go out there and just be a hypocrite. I don't want you to go out there and just accept anybody's religion and think that, like the Pope. Right now, the Pope just stepped on big doo-doo by allowing heresy in the Roman Catholic Church, especially the Vatican. Allowing Muslims to come in there and have their own prayer room in the Vatican, it's heresy, and I know a lot of Catholics who agree with me on that. So I don't follow the Pope at all. Obviously, I think the Pope, to be honest, I know you're Catholic, but to be honest, I think the Pope is actually an antichrist. But hear me out with this. The Apostle Paul wrote 7 letters. You know about the letters?
Yeah, like Colossians, Galatians.
Okay. What is the most important thing in these letters? Listen to this. And I believe every letter has the introduction with such love. To the church, my love and peace be with you. May the love of our Jesus Christ be amongst you. I love you, my brethren, but I have this against you. Every single church has something that they need to work on. And to me, that is such a beautiful thing, because he's still calling them families. The first question you ask me is, do you see me as a Christian because I'm Catholic? Yes. Do you see me as a brother? Yes. Do I think that you're going to be saved? That's not mine to say. That's Jesus Christ. That's God, the judge of all of us.
Of course, yeah.
All we can do is this. There is a nun that I really, really, really like. Maybe even love, I dare say. Really love. And that is Mother Miriam. She is such a sweetheart. I don't know how old she is. She's very old, but she speaks with the Word of God. And I just love it. I love the fact that we can love one another, but as the Bible says, we're supposed to love each other, but we're supposed to hate the sin. Meaning that if you have a problem, let's say, for example, let's not even bring gays in here, but let's say you're an alcoholic. Brother, I love you. You're not going to enter the kingdom of heaven unless we take care of this problem. So I love you, but I don't like you being an alcoholic. So let's pray, let's work, let's fight together. I think that's the difference. When I was, what do you guys call those? A chaplain. I was sitting in this room full of Baptist people, and I was with Baptists because they were the ones that sponsoring my pastorship. And just so you know, the reason why I'm not a pastor is my testimony is my own personal. I don't feel I qualify anymore. I have to watch my tongue, my mouth. I can't be cursing people out if I want to be a pastor. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have these things that I feel that is not right. But if God calls me, those things will be taken away. But here's the thing. They were training people, Christians, to be chaplains, right? So you can go into a disaster and you go and pray for people. Now, here's where you and I connect. You ready for this?
Yeah.
We had to make a prayer. And the guy that was training us to be chaplains, they say this: you can pray for those in need. And guess what the actual but was? They said, but don't finish the prayer in the name of Jesus Christ. Are you kidding me? Then what kind of prayer is that? You just killed the prayer.
Yeah.
And everybody just shut up. Now, see, listen. For those people that don't understand what kind of Christian I am, whether they believe that I was a pastor or not, it's irrelevant. Pastorship, it doesn't mean anything to me. If I lose my soul, then what do I gain by saving the world? Nothing. I have to take care of my family. I can't continue to die for the church. I'm not Jesus Christ. I'm not going to save the world and my family. I got to take care of my responsibility. So, I made a change. I did 5 years of what do you call that? It's not a general pastor, a missionary pastor. There you go. It's temporary. You go to places, you help raise churches, etc. I was a church builder, and the thing that everybody in that room, all of them, Baptist, there were some Catholics, there were some Pentecostals. I mean, everybody was being trained to be a chaplain, and I looked around, brother, and I'm like, I'm the youngest guy here. I don't want to step over somebody else's shoes, over somebody else's toes. And I looked around, bro, nobody said anything. And I said, excuse me, I have a question. And the guy that was training the chaplain said, go ahead. And I said, what do you mean? Pray for them, but don't close or end in the name of Jesus Christ. Let me tell you something. If you pray for somebody, and you don't close in the name of Jesus Christ, that prayer means nothing. Who are you praying to? The only way that we know we're praying to the Father is by closing in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Yeah, that's scripture, literally, yeah.
You know what? So many people, a lot of the elder pastors, they came to me and shook my hand, and I'm like, listen, it doesn't make me a saint. You should question this. You shouldn't allow people to tell you that you can pray as a Christian, but you don't want to say in Jesus Christ because you might offend some Muslims. You might offend other religious people. I'm like, I don't care about religious people. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I'm trying to be true with my prayer, and Jesus Christ is the only truth. Jesus Christ is the only way to the Father. Man, Jesus Christ is our only true life. And so I get judged by Baptist people. I get judged by Catholics. I get judged by Pentecostals. I am all for all so that I can win all, said the Apostle Paul. But that doesn't mean that I get to go and practice everybody's sin. I am against that 100%. So yes, you are a brother. I consider you a Christian. Whether you are going to be a good one or a bad one, that's up to you, between you and God. Do you have a relationship with Jesus Christ? That is all up to you, my friend. I cannot convince you, force you, or tell you to do it. That has to be voluntary. Remember, you have the right to choose.
Of course.
Yeah. Now, go ahead.
I
Your
agree
turn.
with about everything. Yeah, I agree with everything that you say. Like, the churches that Paul was writing to are absolutely true. They weren't false churches, but they had problems. The Catholic Church, and I'm Catholic, I can say this, is the biggest church with the biggest problems, bigger than any other church that there is ever going to be. It had the most problems, the most sins, most flaws that it's ever had.
Yeah, yeah.
And to deny that would be ignorant, and I wouldn't deny that. I also see, Baptist, Pentecostal, the evangelical, they all have problems.
Oh, yeah.
But I think our biggest problem is not looking at each other as brothers and sisters. I think that's the bigger problem.
Yeah.
And I think once we do that, like, and we appreciate each other, and also not straw man, I don't want to look at a Baptist and say, oh, all of y'all are just, y'all don't care about anything but the scripture. You guys just ignore everything. Or I don't want to look at a Pentecostal and say, all y'all do is run and jump all day.
Yeah.
Even a Catholic, I know you don't agree with the Pope, and that's fine. There's no obligation for me as a Catholic to agree with everything.
It doesn't save our soul.
Yeah, he doesn't. But what is good is that he is, whether we like it or not, he is the biggest face of Christianity. We need to pray for him. We always want to pray for everybody to do the best that they can, And even your enemies, you pray for them too. So I think that I liked your response, and I just wish for all of us to look at each other more as brothers, and I feel like we'll get a better understanding because we got bigger fish to fry. Like you have Democrats ready to, they don't care if you're Catholic or evangelical, they're ready to get you out of here.
Yeah.
They're going to replace us with radical Muslims, and then it's all going to go to hell. So I think at least if we look at each other like the way you're saying it, it would be a lot better. So I do appreciate that answer. I wanted to ask you that.
Yeah, no problem. The guy that called before you, he's not wrong. He's not wrong about, we might not see death. Like, we might just be raptured. But, at the same time, I also have to be cautious not to think that is solid. All I know is, I know what we see, and I know that our time is not God's time. Our thoughts are not God's thoughts. We all we can do is this: live your life planning, making investments, as if the world will never end. But love today as if it was the last day of your life. And every day you reset. Every day you got to remind your flesh, hey, you're God's property. Every day, hey, let's do something good today. And when you fail, you catch yourself. You got to judge yourself so that it's easier for the spirit to fight against the flesh. I hope that makes sense.
No, it all makes sense. We were bought for a price. Christ is our Lord, and we have to follow him.
Yes, sir.
And then we have to do our best to fight the good fight. But like you said, at any moment, like you and me could be calling right now, and then judgment, or it could be a billion years from now. It's not for us to decide. It's like I think Peter said. He had said, 1,000 years, one day, 1,000 years. Just live sober-minded, as if a thief in the night comes. Just always be aware, and you'll be fine.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
I agree, but I'll leave you to it, Dennis. It's great to talk to you. I definitely want to call again, and always praying for you, brother. You have a great day.
All right, thank you, Aaron. You take care, brother. Be blessed. All right, we'll do one more call. If anybody wants to talk about gas, let me go ahead and continue to play this video here. Now, if your name is Satan, Lucifer, the Dark Lord, or anything like that, I will probably automatically block you since you're probably too dark spirited for me, and I don't want that on my chat. All right, but let's go ahead and finish this clip from CNN.
I just want to be precise. $4.48 is the national average for a gallon of gas, regular gasoline here in the United States. But in some places, it's a lot more. Like California, for example, it's $6 a gallon or even more, right?
That's right. And we're seeing higher gas prices on the West Coast, the East Coast, and in the Midwest because there's been some refinery disruptions in the Midwest, and that has pushed prices up there. As you mentioned, $4.48, the national average across the entire United States. But we know Americans on the coast and in the Midwest are being pinched even more by those higher prices, Wolf.
Yeah, it's getting up there. All right, Vanessa Yurkevich reporting for us. Vanessa, thank you very, very much.
The roller coaster with the world's oil and gas markets continues. Oil prices have been, down.
By the way, the crude oil today is 102.54.
Falling slightly this morning, but still have been above and are $100 a barrel. The U.S. began helping guide ships through the strait just yesterday. Some reports of ships making it, there have been some reports of some ships making it through, but shipping data still shows there is no major increase in traffic, which means what for the future of it all? Matt Egan's here with us now. Matt, what are you watching right now?
Well, Kate, look, another day, another 4-year high for gas prices, right? A gallon of regular now selling for $4.48. This is the highest level since July of 2022. It's exactly $1.50 above where gas was selling just before the war started. Now, not nearly as high yet as that all-time Biden-era record of $5 a gallon. But yes, some analysts do fear that we could get there if the Strait of Hormuz does not reopen soon. And keep in mind that during the president's first term in office, gas prices were never above $3 a gallon. Now, well above $4 a gallon. And some states are seeing especially big price hikes just in the past month, right? $1.09 more expensive in Ohio, nearly $1 more expensive in Michigan, Indiana as well. This is all in just the past month. I mean, you could go a whole year without seeing price hikes like that, and these states are seeing it in the past month. And Gas Buddy estimates that just since March 1st, Americans are spending $24 billion more on gasoline. Now, some of that is seasonal, right? People drive more as the weather warms up, but most of it is the fact that prices have just gone up so dramatically. Now, the good news, relatively speaking, is, as you noted, oil futures, they have cooled off a little bit, right? Down 2% on the day. I think there's some relief that the ceasefire overnight has appeared to hold up. There were some real concerns about whether or not that was going to happen. But look, $104 oil, I mean, that is not cheap. Before the war started, we're looking at $65 oil. So,
all right, we got a next caller here. Hey, thank you for calling. Who are we speaking with?
My name's Barney. How you doing, man?
Hey, Barney. Thanks for calling, man.
Hey, I love your show, and I love Trump.
Thank you, man.
And I was a little bit nervous, so help me along if you would.
Yeah, sure.
Gas prices, I don't mind paying it. Me and my wife are retired. We only bring in about $2,200 a month.
Wow.
But I know that down the road, those prices have come down. But another thing I wanted to mention is Trump had talked about why didn't we take their oil, or why didn't we do this or that? I'd like to see us take some of Venezuela's oil, maybe a couple of tankers a week or a month or whatever, and get some of our money back, and also over there in Iran get that too. And but that was some of my thoughts. And do you think that he might be doing some of that maybe for us to help our prices a little cheaper down the road?
Yeah, so I know that Trump, when we were doing this thing with Venezuela, remember that Venezuela promised us about $1 trillion worth of oil and, access to rare earth minerals. Now, I know that Trump has used, I think it was 2 tankers that he took from sanctions, and I believe that we used that, and we have been using that for to support these attacks that we're doing against the warring Iran against us. But I also believe that President Trump wants Venezuela's people to become prosperous again, and so we're buying oil from Venezuela, but this money is going to the Venezuelan people. Now, with this whole thing with Iran, and a lot of the people that have been with me here and have listened to my show is we want more refineries We talked about how much it costs for refineries, and it costs anywhere for a big refinery. It costs anywhere between $5 to $15 billion. Now, to us, to you and me, us poor folks, that's a lot of money. But when it comes to our country and our economy, despite the deficit, we are a very rich country, and I think that we could make some of those refineries, and that would be available, for us to get our own gas. So sort of as Australia is doing, right? I don't know if you heard the news in Australia, but Australia are actually doing that. They're digging their own oil and they're refining it for themselves, and they have been, making their prices more affordable. I will say this. I'm glad that you don't mind paying the price for gas, as long as we are aware of why we're paying it. And I want to point something out to you. If you haven't heard me speak before about this, and all the people that are actually coming into the channel right now, I want you to listen to this. Look at the pricing from CNN. Now, I found the most recent pricing right now is holding at $102.53. Okay? People don't, they hear things, but they don't listen. I know that you're listening. I'm saying it for other people that want to cause havoc on the chat. Listen to this. The highest price for gas, right, as we saw this clip here, was averaging about the same price as of right now for gas. This is back in 2022 during the Biden administration, okay? Now, what they don't point out when they give out news is the price of the barrel of oil. They give you the price of gas, but they don't mention the oil. And I want you to understand this part. It went to $130 a barrel of oil under Biden. Now, I'm not speaking bad about him. The economy goes up and down, and I get it. I'm not going to expect any president to be perfect. I get that. But a barrel of oil, you already know where I'm at, don't you? 130 under Biden's 2022. This is 4 years ago. And look at the price of the barrel of oil, $104.20, according to CNN. Why are the prices the exact same price for gas?
Yeah,
right?
I'm not. Yeah.
And that's where we're at. So the biggest things, of course, is local taxes. We had this Green New BS deal that we knew was horrible, and rhinos and Democrats passed it. And we were against it, but you know what? It was their turn to be in power, so we gave them that. That's fine. We will pay higher prices for gas, higher prices for our cost of living, etc. And I wish that I can say that there is Democrats fighting for the American people, but they just aren't. It's just so hard to find patriots on the Democrat and Republican side. Like, what do we have to do?
Okay.
Go ahead.
I trust Trump to do the right thing. I see him like a fighter. A fighter likes to look after his legacy. And
yeah.
I think he doesn't want to go out of this presidency without doing great like he does.
That's right.
And another thing, too, and what makes me so angry is all the money that's been stolen from us through all these NGOs and through all these programs and stuff. With people with incomes like me and my wife, with $2,100 a month between us both, $5,000 is life-changing to us.
Yeah.
But we don't complain and go on, but my God, somebody's got to be held accountable on that. And once they get all this stuff figured out, I think there'll be a lot of more money in the coffers for the citizens.
Yes,
and
sir.
Maybe we'll get a raise.
you know what's crazy? I didn't know. Now, I don't care what happens with disability Social Security. And I don't mean that I don't care that people get it. Right. No, of course I care, but I don't care about this part. I don't care if they get taxed. But I didn't know, that when you retire, your Social Security gets taxed.
I don't pay any taxes. I don't know where that comes from.
Yeah, well, it depends on the state.
66.
What state are you in?
Florida.
In Florida, okay, maybe that might be the difference. So here in Washington State, you do. You have to pay taxes, so they take it off of you. But if it wasn't because of the big beautiful bill, I would have never thought. I was like, wait, who's taxing the Social Security? This is for retirement. Like, the income is already fixed, it's limited. And so I didn't know, but, you know, people were freaking out over here in Washington State. As all the seniors were just, you know, out there protesting. Don't touch my Social Security. They were holding signs out there. And I'm like, who told you that your Social Security is being taken away? They're actually stopping. You can claim your taxes from Social Security. You can get that money back now. And people didn't know that, you know. And so now you get, you know, you get $6,000 rebate, not rebate, deduction, and then $6,000 for your spouse. $12,000 total, up to $75,000 income in combined income in the house. And wait, I think it's 75. Oh my gosh, I might have missed. I think it's 75 for single and 100 and something for both incomes together. I think that's how it goes. But that's $12,000 that you can deduct, you know, when you do your taxes, and you get your taxes that were taken out of your Social Security back in your pocket. And I thought, what a fantastic, great thing to do, you know. But the problem with this gas prices that we have today, I don't know. There's a lot of things out there that we will never really be able to pinpoint, especially with all the fraud and scamming that we've been seeing lately. Right. But I can tell you that if I was paying the price of gas that I'm paying today, when the barrel was 130, I don't think I should be paying the high price when the barrel is 102. It just doesn't make sense that it's almost $30 cheaper and I'm paying more for gas. That doesn't make sense to me. So we know regulating, we know taxes. Every time the price goes up, so does the tax, right? The higher charge, more taxes. Now here's the good news for Californians specifically, and hopefully this causes a domino effect. Hilton is one of the guys running as a Republican down in California. And he wants to bring gas prices down to $3. He is planning to get rid of a lot of regulations and all this climate BS, you know, that they have been charging the Californians for. Right. And I hope that other states that are blue states can see how wonderful it is to actually have a leader in office that actually cares about people being able to afford a living. And that's where I'm at with gas prices.
Can I say something else real quick?
Of course.
This is something I've thought about as far as the housing prices. I noticed that in 21, how all the prices were going up for renters and stuff. And I don't see how these young couples make it to pay $1,500 to $2,000 a month on a house and on a wage. And I'm thinking that when we had this 15, 20 million illegals come in, all the houses were sucked up and took up.
Absolutely.
Plus they pay in Section 8 too, probably.
Yep.
And on those people.
Yep, there were hundreds.
People are out of the country. Won't these prices go back to being competitive with the neighbor, with the neighbors at least? Is that what you would think?
In a perfect world, and let me tell you why. And I'm going to give you the most recent example. Okay, I'm 100% a tariff guy. I really believe that we should have tariffs. Let me tell you why. Now this might just be the socialist guy inside my head, right? Because I think some socialism is okay. But we need a capitalist entire system in order for this to work. I wish that you can have 5 minutes inside my brain. It's so hard to explain. Yeah. But here we go. I'm going to try to do my best. If President Trump mentioned this, now he could be joking or he just mentioned it out there, but he said this: how about we start bringing in this money, right, that we're getting back into our country from tariffs, and let's not collect taxes from the people anymore. And I thought, wow,
I like that.
Federal taxes? Are you kidding me? That's fantastic, right? Now, now watch this. So President Trump is thinking, okay, oh my God, where do I start for this? When we put tariffs on the world, I'm going to have to close my eyes so I can concentrate. When we put tariffs on the world, we were losing hundreds of billions of dollars. Now we're making hundreds of billions of dollars. A lot of small businesses and companies that were making money of imports, right? Fantastic. Right. They were doing great. They were successful. But we were still losing hundreds of billions of dollars in our economy as a country. So we put tariffs in to encourage, to bring back jobs, to bring back markets that Democrats have been getting rid of and rhinos for the last few decades, like manufacturing, cars, etc. Now we got AI, we got all these chips and all this technology, and we're bringing this here, data, digital data centers and, call centers and all this other stuff. And we are actually seeing a positive money coming into our country. And a lot of people were complaining about these tariffs. Now, here's the kicker. The kicker is this. Costco and other big corporations that were raising the prices, not just in gas, not just in the service, but in the products that they were selling. These big corporations, they charged us because of tariffs. And I'm a guy that likes to think about things. I like to analyze, so to speak. And I start thinking, okay, so because of tariffs, gas prices are up. Well, tariffs went down. I don't see the gas prices going down. Right. I don't see the products going down. Prices are still the same. And there is a thing called cost of doing business. That is a deduction on taxes. And these big corporations, they have big time money, lawyers, and all these people that do taxes for them, and they know all the loops to not pay taxes. And so I'm thinking about it, right? And I'm like, okay, all right, I see. Well, here's the thing. People told me that, especially the big corporations that were losing money. Well, Dennis, hey, listen, I know what you're saying with the cost of doing business, but I'm losing that money right now. So I got to charge the people. And my question is always going to be the same. So when you get this deduction on your taxes, are you going to give me also a refund because you're making me pay these tariffs? The answer is no. And here's the bigger kicker. They sued our government, and we have to pay back $159 billion. Now, I saw this. I saw the number was 166, but Trump says $159 billion, paying back to these corporations, to these businesses. Now, a little, in parentheses, fraud, right, scam, abuse, okay? That's all in there. So these corporations won, and the government has to pay back $159 billion back to these businesses. You know who doesn't get a refund? You and me. You and me don't get a refund. So they get to they get to use the cost of doing business to get the taxes back that they paid. And then they get to sue for those same tariffs, and we don't get nothing. They do. And third and most importantly, the final kicker for us, the dumbass citizens, the final kicker is that they love to price gouge.
Yep.
When
and the prices won't come down neither.
They will not. They will not. So let me add something on the side note. The stock market. I call this a fear-mongering tool. The stock market is not our economy. And any economist can come in here and argue with me on that. That's fine. But the stock market is a fear-mongering tool to me. What we do in our local economy has to do with how much money we make, how much money we spend, Who benefits from this economy in our country? Oh, I'm going very deep in this rabbit hole. I hope these guys are paying attention. Listen, when the government adds a regulation, tax, or fee, we pay for it. They get the benefit because they're collecting it. The government collects it, and that looks like a nice revenue for them, which gives them a bigger budget. Illegal immigrants is just a fraction of the problem that we have because they do get more seats, and yes, you're right, they take away the housing. We just don't have enough to have a massive invasion to cover housing. We just don't. But here's the other thing. It's they're adding taxing for businesses, taxing the rich, you know, the whole shebang that they always say, tax the rich. They're raising the price on this, they're raising the price on that. They want to raise the minimum wage for every job. Let's be honest. When I was in school, my teachers were telling me, Dennis, you're about to graduate. You need to start thinking of a career. What do you want to do? Well, I don't know. What do you think? And we started talking about being doctors, optometrists, dentists, and lawyers, and all these other jobs. And my other option was flip burgers and fries at McDonald's for minimum wage, $4.25. Or I can continue my education, become an engineer, software, whatever, and then I can make good money, big bucks. But that was the thing. Education used to mean something. Now it doesn't matter. You can be a dropout. You can be a lazy person in life, and you go and get $25 an hour from McDonald's. And that just causes a ripple effect. Everything goes up. Yeah. I am no longer paying $5 for my meal. I'm paying almost $20 today. You know what that does for my economy? It does a lot of harm because I'm not a rich person. If I'm rich, I don't care. I can afford. I spend $300,000 on a car. I don't care because I'm rich. But you know what? I'm not rich. And some of us that have to live that way, I'm glad that you're retired. I hope that you're enjoying retirement. But I believe that you should, if you haven't or you're not, I believe that everybody that retires, I'm sick of these excuses that we can't afford it. But I believe that anybody that retires, I don't care about your health conditions. I care that you have a health care, free of charge. No taxes. Free health care, and I want you to have free welfare. I think when you retire, I am no longer enabling you to be a bad citizen. Now I'm actually able to give you something to say, doggone it, I worked my ass off for this. Thank you so much.
Dennis, they don't even give us SNAP or anything. Luckily, we own our own home, but when I retired, my retirement went toward a roof and a new car that all went down at the same time. But anyway, thank you for taking my call. I feel real good about it, and you made it easy for me, and I appreciate you.
God bless you and your family. You all be blessed. Thank you so much for the call.
Thank you, sir.
There you go. For all those liptards that like to just come in here and insult us, of course, if you're insulted by me calling you a liptard, you can always make a change. All right? You can always make a change. You don't have to stay liptard. Besides, I want you to know something, okay? Except for Kelly girl. You guys, well, I'm assuming that you are all Americans. And I'm going to say this. I love all my American brothers and sisters. I believe that there are things that we can do in government to create an equilibrium, a balanced living. If you're truly disabled, I believe you should qualify for services. Absolutely. The problem is people abuse it. So, you can continue to tax Social Security on disability, but I really believe there's a couple of things that we got to do. Number one is, as I just told our previous caller, when you retire at 57, 62, whatever the age is, you should have your free health care. You should have welfare access and your Social Security income. You should be able to take a vacation and go sip on some non-alcoholic pina coladas in Mexico or whatever it is that you want to go. You should be able to take a vacation with your partner, with your wife or husband, whichever sex gender you are, the opposite of that. And I think that we can afford it. Now you say, wait a minute. Well, Dennis, this is where you're wrong. If we do that for all retirees, we're not going to be able to afford it. Oh, yes, we can. We can afford that. We might not be able to afford, and even this I will question, we can afford universal health care. But here is the thing. In order for us to be able to get these benefits working, guys, I'm not a career politician. Doggone it. Yes, I am almost 50. And yes, I have a lot of freaking life experience. I've been rich, middle class, and poor. Listen, whatever. The point I'm trying to make is this. If we get rid of every single illegal immigrant on here that is getting all the benefits that belong to the American people, we got money. If we get rid of all these illegal immigrants and all those who have become legal that are committing fraud and are scheming our system, we can't afford this. Yes, we can. And the Z generation, the young generation right now, the people that are in their 20s, maybe late teens, they have to understand, in order for them to be able to get Social Security when they get old, they need to stop studying to be an activist, number one. They need to really understand that they have to be accountable for what they do in their life. And working is one of those responsibilities that we don't like to do, but doggone it feels so good when you get that paycheck. Yeah, sometimes if it's too much taxes, it's a small check, but when you get something, you learn to appreciate it. And so this is where your capitalist mind comes in and says, wait a minute, if I work a second job, I can make more money. And I can afford to get this. And I can buy that. I can invest one of my jobs in a savings account that I will never touch. And I can live off one income, one job. I can pay all my bills. What a fantastic idea. But they have to make that choice themselves. And then the next generation, and then the next generation. And this is how it works. But as long as you keep voting in corrupted politicians, I don't care if it's Republican or Democrats, nowadays you can't tell. All I want is American people to run for office so that they can help the American people, and do not keep wasting the tax money that belongs to the American people. California, and I mentioned this before, California is on a bird, on a I forgot the word in English. California is so close to breaking free. This November, I hope that Californians wake up and vote for Hilton. That's the guy that Trump is sponsoring, and so do I. I like the sheriff. But I think Hilton will do a good job, a better job. That's just me. You know, just vote Republican. That's all I'm saying. And I think Hilton should take it. California is considered the largest economy in the United States of America. And many of you who have been with me for a while, you guys know this. I've said this before. They have the highest poverty level in the whole nation. So while many people brag about being so rich and this and that, most of their citizens are actually suffering in poverty. Let that marinate for a little bit. All right, let's go ahead and get to our next clip. I think that was enough on gas prices. Thank you guys for your participation. We're going to go ahead and listen to the briefing from this morning. This is our wonderful Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, and our most favorite Lieutenant General. I think that's the whole name, or General. I don't know which one's higher. Given the highest position. General Raising Caine, badass. And I am so proud. Let me say this. I am so proud of what these two guys are doing. And every single military leadership, all the way down to the vehicles and equipment that we have in our military. I am so proud that we have all these heroes and all this power behind the best country in the world, because we do take care of the world. Whether you believe that or not is irrelevant. With that being said, let's get to it.
Well, as you know, President Trump has directed U.S. Central Command to restart the free flow of commerce through the Strait of Hormuz under the umbrella of Project Freedom. To be clear, this operation is separate and distinct from Operation Epic Fury. Project Freedom is defensive in nature, focused in scope, and temporary in duration, with one mission: protecting innocent commercial shipping from Iranian aggression. American forces won't need to enter Iranian waters or airspace. It's not necessary. We're not looking for a fight, but Iran also cannot be allowed to block innocent countries and their goods from an international waterway. Iran is the clear aggressor, harassing civilian vessels, threatening mariners from every nation indiscriminately, and weaponizing a critical choke point for its own financial benefit, or at least trying to. For too long, Iran has been harassing ships, shooting at civilian tankers from all nations, and trying to impose a tolling system. Iran's plan, a form of international extortion, is unacceptable. That ends with Project Freedom. 2 U.S. commercial ships, along with American destroyers, have already safely transited the strait, showing the lane is clear. We know the Iranians are embarrassed by this fact. They said they control the strait. They do not. So American ships led the way, commercial and military, shouldering the initial risk from the front, as Americans always do. And right now, hundreds more ships from nations around the world are lining up to transit. CENTCOM, along with partner nations, is in active communication with hundreds of ships, shipping companies, and insurers. All of these ships from all around the world want to get out of the Iranian trap that they have been stuck inside. As a direct gift from the United States to the world, we have established a powerful red, white, and blue dome over the strait. American destroyers are on station, supported by hundreds of fighter jets, helicopters, drones, and surveillance aircraft, providing 24/7 overwatch for peaceful commercial vessels. Except Iran's, of course, which is why our ironclad blockade remains in full effect as well. In fact, 6 ships tried to run the blockade out of Iranian ports as Project Freedom commenced, and they were all turned around. This is more than strategy, it's also humanitarian. By breaking Iran's illegal stranglehold, we're protecting the lives and livelihoods of sailors from dozens of countries, securing global energy routes, and preventing shortages that hit the world's poorest people the hardest. Once again, America is using its strength to lift up others. Iran is trying to subjugate the world. To what remains of Iran's forces, if you attack American troops or innocent commercial shipping, you will face overwhelming and devastating American firepower. The president has been very clear about this. We prefer this to be a peaceful operation, but are locked and loaded to defend our people, our ships, our aircraft, and this mission without hesitation. To Iran, let innocent ships pass freely. These international waters belong to all nations, not to Iran to tax, toll, or control. To our partners, allies, and the rest of the world, this is a temporary mission for us. As I've said before, the world needs this waterway a lot more than we do. We're stabilizing the situation so commerce can flow again, but we expect the world to step up. At the appropriate time and soon, we will hand responsibility back to you. To the incredible Americans executing this mission right now, simply thank you. Your courage, your readiness, your unmatched professionalism and precision are why the world can breathe easier today and every day. You are and always will be the greatest fighting force in human history, unmatched always. Project Freedom is underway. Commerce will be flowing, and America is once again leading with strength, clarity, and purpose for the benefit of the entire world. Our will is unshakable. God bless our troops, and God bless the mighty United States Navy as well. Mr. Chairman, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary, and good morning, everyone. Thanks for being here. On Sunday, at the direction of the President, CENTCOM initiated Project Freedom with the objective of facilitating the safe passage of international commercial shipping through the Strait of Hormuz. Over the past 7 weeks, Iran's repeatedly threatened and attacked commercial shipping in the Strait in order to effectively cut off commercial traffic and damage the global economy. By obstructing one of the world's most critical maritime checkpoints, a vital transit route for approximately 1/5 of the global oil consumption, Iran is weaponizing the global supply chain. This action disregards established navigational rights and the law of the sea, and the regime led by the IRGC is effectively attempting to hold the entire global economy hostage. Let me give you an update of the last few days of activities, and if you take a look at the map here, as the Secretary said, the United States has established Project Freedom to open up the Strait of Hormuz. This graphic highlights the kinetic engagements that the Iranians have attempted to make or have taken against the region. The green dots and blue dots show the groupings of commercial, cargo, and tanker vessels. And the United States has established a significant presence over the strait here in order to open up the free flow of commerce, noting the blockade still continues along the eastern flank. The map shows the examples and samples of Iranian attacks against commercial vessels in the strait, as well as the Gulf of Oman and up in the Arabian Gulf. Since the ceasefire was announced, Iran has fired at commercial vessels 9 times and seized 2 container ships, and they've attacked U.S. forces more than 10 times, all below the threshold of restarting major combat operations at this point. You can also see the group of tankers and cargo vessels in the U.S. blockade line, as I mentioned. As a result of Iran's indiscriminate attacks across the region, there are currently 22,500 mariners embarked on more than 1,550 commercial vessels trapped in the Arabian Gulf, unable to transit. In addition to shipping, Iran has continued to deliberately attack its neighbors. Just yesterday, Iran attacked Oman once and the UAE 3 times, including an attack on Fujairah oil terminal, which was successfully defeated. They also launched cruise missiles, drones, small boats at U.S. forces defending commercial shipping in the Straits, and United States Navy MH-60 helicopters and Army AH-64 Apache helicopters successfully defeated those threats. Thus far, today is quieter. Let me describe this defensive operation just a few clicks down for you. As the Secretary said, Project Freedom is designed to protect commercial shipping and help restore the flow of commerce through the strait and sustain freedom of navigation. CENTCOM has established an enhanced security area on the southern side of the strait that is now protected by U.S. land, naval, and air assets to help defeat further Iranian aggression against commercial shipping. I'd like to share a little bit more about U.S. capabilities, but for operational security purposes, I'm not going to get into specific details out there. On the surface, guided missile destroyers and other warships are detecting and defeating Iranian threats. This includes fast boats and one-way attack drones. In the air, more than 100 fighters, attack aircraft, and other manned and unmanned aircraft synchronized by the 82nd Airborne Division are in the air 24 hours a day, providing defensive overwatch for the enhanced security area and its approaches that I discussed. These forces are comprised of over 15,000 American service members and have established localized air and sea control to protect against Iranian threats. Commercial vessels that transit through the area will see, hear, and frankly feel U.S. combat power around them on the sea, in the skies, and on the radio. And as of this morning, as was mentioned prior, 2 U.S. flag merchant vessels have transited, and we anticipate more to transit over the coming days. Further up the Gulf, U.S. Naval Forces Central Command continues to work to identify and mitigate any threats. Beyond Project Freedom, CENTCOM and the rest of the Joint Force remain ready to resume major combat operations against Iran if ordered to do so. No adversary should mistake our current restraint with a lack of resolve. And the President has said, as the Secretary has, that now is the time for those with equity stake in the strait to come assist. Before I turn it back to the Secretary, I want to take a moment to highlight part of our joint force today. And today I want to talk about the paratroopers of the United States Army 82nd Airborne Division. When the President or the Secretary need immediate, scalable, and lethal combat power in CENTCOM or elsewhere, the All-American Division answers the call. The 82nd is the core of our nation's immediate response force and ready to deploy within hours of notice. These paratroopers are capable of accomplishing any mission in any environment, constantly training, constantly ready to jump from Air Force aircraft into ground combat and seize key terrain if ordered to do so, just like their predecessors did in Sicily and Normandy in World War II, or to secure or enable the follow-on forces to flow into theater as they did in Grenada or Panama. They can do the range of missions from counterinsurgency to counterterrorism operations to power projection, as they have many times over the course of the history of this great division. They can do all these things because they're incredibly well-trained, well-equipped, and well-led, but also because of the indomitable spirit of the All-American paratrooper. Every single one of them volunteered for this role, volunteered to go to airborne training, and volunteered to serve. But this division is now more than just a formation that we use for forcible entries. For example, just today, they are out there coordinating, integrating, and synchronizing land, air, space, sea, and cyber forces using joint all-domain command and control. They use next-generation tactical networks that are AI-enabled to augment intelligence and operations, and they seamlessly synchronize all of these effects and are doing so in support of Project Freedom as we speak. The relentless focus on technical innovation allows the commanders out there in the field to see, sense, and understand the opportunities that are in front of them, along with the associated risks, and make smart decisions out on the objective. With incredible courage, tenacity, and grit, they are going all the way every day, and whenever the nation calls on them, they are there to answer the call. We are grateful for their service and their leadership. Lastly, before I close, as I often do, I want to remember some of our fallen. Today we remember Sergeant William Rivers, Specialist Brianna Moffett, and Specialist Kennedy Sanders of the 718th Engineering Company, U.S. Army Reserves, out of Fort Benning, Georgia. They were tragically killed on January 28, 2024, when attacked by an Iranian-backed proxy force at Tower 22 in Jordan. We continue to carry on their memories. We remember their names. We remember their families. And the Secretary and I are deeply grateful for all of our deployed forces who are out there doing our nation's work. And sir, with that, I'll kick it back over to you.
Very good. We'll take a few questions. Go ahead.
Thank you. Alexandra Ingersoll, One America News. Do you assess, Mr. Secretary, do you assess what's left of this small boat fleet to be a significant threat or a nuisance to be managed? And then secondly, what is your message to critics who say that the U.S. doesn't have a strategy in this mission?
Well, any threat needs to be taken seriously. And just like those 6 attack boats that the chairman mentioned were taken seriously and dealt with before there were any real threat to the American military vessels that they were approaching. And that is small craft like that are all that Iran has left. Their ability to get close with a destroyer of the capabilities that we have is limited, but we're going to take it very seriously and kinetically, quickly. We're not going to allow a threat to gather. And I can tell you, even from just this morning, the strategy remains laser focused. In fact, what I think you see from Project Freedom is that we're not allowing ourselves to get distracted. This is a separate and distinct effort, temporary in nature, that we plan to hand over to the world. The world has expressed a desire to be a part of this. As is often the case, or maybe almost always the case, American leadership is required. So the president was willing to undertake this, send commercial ships through, send destroyers in, provide this red, white, and blue bubble of protection, and encourage the world to step up. Because ultimately, this waterway is, as I said, far more crucial to the rest of the world, and they need to have the ability to defend it. So I think this is a reflection of a laser-focused strategy, actually, right here.
Morning, Mr. Secretary, Mr. Chairman. David Zia, Real America's Voice. I wanted to ask you, of any of the fast boats that have been either sunk or identified, are there any armaments larger than, say, small, AK-47 type stuff, or any anti-ship cruise missiles identified? And my second question is, if there's a divide between the IRGC and Tehran, is there a way to get Tehran to agree to let us go after the IRGC that is doing these attacks without violating the ceasefire?
Well, right now, anything coming at our crafts, regardless of what's on it, has to be defended against, and that's the case. I don't know what the exact armaments were on those fast boats.
Small arms, nothing significant on the fast boats.
Rifles or small machine guns. There were some small coastal cruise missiles shot down as well. So there's some frothiness in the beginning aspects of this that were dealt with very directly by our destroyers, and we're communicating both overtly and quietly to the Iranians to allow this defensive operation to happen on behalf of the world. There are some actions the IRGC takes sometimes that are outside the bounds of what maybe Iranian negotiators would like. That's their job to rein that in and ultimately create a condition for a deal, right? That's not something I talked about in these remarks, but that's happening in real time. Iran has an ability to make that deal. But what we're demonstrating with Project Freedom is they don't control the strait. I mean, we know Iran is embarrassed by the fact that our blockade is holding, and we can run ships through, and we're going to help the world run ships through. And if they hold it at issue, the whole world knows who's doing it. It's not us. We're willing to open it up. It's Iran, and that creates a dilemma for them. We hope they make a deal. Yes.
Thank you, sir. My first question is for General Caine. Mary Margaret with the Daily Wire. You said that the attacks by Iran so far are below the threshold of restarting major combat operations. What is that threshold? And then for Secretary Hegseth, are there still concerns about mines in the Strait? And can you kind of clarify these reports of kamikaze dolphins that we've heard about?
I haven't heard the kamikaze dolphin thing. It's like sharks with laser beams, right? The threshold of restarting is a political decision above my pay grade. What I'll say is it's low harassing fire right now. It feels like Iran is grasping at straws to try to do something across the southern flank. To your question, David, their command and control structure remains very fractured, and I think they're struggling to maintain control down echelon at the edge, but it's still pretty low level kinetics at this point in time.
And I can't confirm or deny whether we have kamikaze dolphins, but I can confirm they don't. Ultimately, any follow-on effort, if there are mines identified, would be something that some of our units could undertake or the world could undertake. But right now, we know we have a lane of safe passage that commercial shipping can flow through.
Thank you, Secretary Hegseth. Last 24 hours or so, Iran's fired at us. We fired at Iran. Just going to ask you more directly, is the ceasefire over?
No, the ceasefire is not over. Ultimately, this is a separate and distinct project, and we expected there would be some churn at the beginning, which happened. And we said we would defend aggressively, and we absolutely have. Iran knows that. And ultimately, the president's going to make a decision whether anything were to escalate into a violation of a ceasefire. But certainly we would urge Iran to be prudent in the actions that they take to keep that underneath this threshold. This is about the straits. This is about freedom of navigation. This is about international waterways. This is about free flow of commerce, all the things that happened before, and only Iran is contesting. So right now the ceasefire certainly holds, but we're going to be watching very, very closely. Absolutely.
Secretary
James, go ahead.
Mr. Secretary, thank you. General, thank you. I want to first express my gratitude and admiration for the work you do and for everyone involved in our armed forces, and also for the accomplishments of Operation Epic Fury, which I think are too often dismissed too lightly. But those accomplishments don't obscure, I think, a central default that has occurred here, and I would like you both to address it. On the first day of this conflict, President Trump addressed the Iranian people directly and said, when we're finished, take over your government. It'll be yours to take. And then on the seventh day of the conflict, in a Truth Social post, the president said, quote, there will be no deal with Iran except, all caps, exclamation mark, unconditional surrender. What happens to that pledge to the Iranians? And when did the president decide to capitulate on his demand for unconditional surrender?
Well, James, I wouldn't. You started out nicely, but you ended exactly where we knew you would end. The president hasn't capitulated on anything. He holds the cards. We maintain the upper hand, and Project Freedom only strengthens that hand. And so he will ensure that whatever deal is made or whatever end state is reached creates ensuring that Iran never has a nuclear weapon, which is number one, and he's been focused on that, and the deal and discussions are centered on that. And what the Iranian people take advantage of after the fact is up to them, and he's been very clear about that. And maybe you do it now, maybe it happens later, but ultimately he's also been clear, we're not going to entangle this into some nation-building project. Our objectives are clear. They've been pursued from day one. Hopefully the Iranian people take advantage of that because they're being taken advantage of by this regime. As you know, 45,000 Iranians, innocent Iranians, killed before the outset of this. That's what this government does, kills their own innocent civilians. Getting out from underneath that is going to be a challenge of the Iranian people, and we certainly hope they take advantage of that. Thank you.
Can I have one follow, please?
Go ahead. Everybody else follows directives. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Can you share any information regarding the South Korean ship that was reportedly hit by Iran? Is Seoul in contact with the U.S. military about it? And is there any indication that they would heed Trump's call made on social media to join Project Freedom?
We hope so. We're in contact with that ship, CENTCOM, I should say, and the Maritime Coordination Forces are in touch. And I think targeting like that is a reflection of the indiscriminate nature of what Iran is doing. We hope South Korea would step up, just like we hope Japan would step up, just like we hope Australia would step up, just like we hope Europe steps up. But we're not waiting for them to do so. We're looking to set the conditions to hand to them. But the president was clear in his truth message that, hey, this is your ship. You should take part in helping to defend it. We very much hope they do. James, go ahead.
Mr. Secretary, in terms of new U.S. intelligence reports suggest that the timeline for the war in Iran to get a nuclear weapon has not changed since last summer, still at 9 to 12 months. Is that intelligence wrong? How can this be after so much bombing? And for General Caine, going on back onto what you're talking about, the Strait of Hormuz, the president recently said that the blockade is even more effective than bombing. So why didn't we start the campaign with the blockade? And initially, how many planned ships do you plan to escort or take through commercial ships to the Strait of Hormuz today or in the coming days?
Well, we don't discuss the specifics about intel, and anybody that does shouldn't be, and I can't confirm or deny whether that is indeed correct. Speculation, as far as I'm concerned, coming from you. But ultimately, what Operation Midnight Hammer did in the obliteration of those facilities was set back their program. And then, because of the efforts of that 12-day war, the president was able to recognize that this threat, while they continued to seek nuclear capabilities, their will was still there to seek a nuclear bomb. Ultimately, they were creating a conventional umbrella of so many missiles and so many capabilities that no one would want to challenge them. Think of the North Korea. This is the North Korea strategy. We have so many conventional capabilities, you won't do something about it, and underneath that, we're going to develop more nuclear capabilities. So the will was still there. President Trump had the courage to say we have to dismantle and take on those conventional capabilities while the nuclear facilities are watched 24/7 and overwatched, and we will ensure one way or another, hopefully Iran chooses a deal, that they give up those ambitions, give up those capabilities, and we're able to confirm that every step of the way. So that has been, President Trump's been focused on it. He's set them back like no other president. He ripped up the terrible deal that would have given them a bomb. He took care of it in Midnight Hammer. We're watching it right now, and ultimately feel good about the fact that the end state will ensure that Iran never has a nuclear weapon. Go ahead.
Sir, I'll let CENTCOM talk to the number of ships they're going to take through because they're the nearest ones to talking to the commercial shippers, and I don't want to get out in front of them. On the order and sequence around the military objectives, that's a decision the President and the Secretary go get us at, and at the time we were focused on the primary objectives that were in front of us. Thank you.
Ryan Morgan with the Epic Times. On Friday, President Trump notified Congress that the hostilities that began on February 28 had terminated. That came on the deadline of the 60-day war powers deadline. Will this administration be seeking congressional approval for any further military operations if the ceasefire breaks down?
Our view is the one you described, that ultimately with the ceasefire, the clock stops. If it were to restart, that would be the president's decision. That option is always there, and Iran knows that, and that's why, their choices in Project Freedom are important. The president retains the opportunity and the capabilities, more capabilities than we had at the start of this, to restart major combat operations if necessary. If Iran is not willing to follow through on its side of the bargain or make a deal, then the War Department is postured, locked, loaded, and ready to go. We hope it doesn't have to go in that direction, but Admiral Cooper and our forces are in a three-point stance and ready to go. Yeah, last question.
Thank you. Liam Cosgrove with Zero Hedge. In recent weeks, both Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Israel's head of Mossad have stated their intent not to cease combat with the Iranians. Netanyahu put this on Twitter. Israel's head of Mossad said Israel's goals are not finished until the Iranian government collapses. And so they're referring to the government that President Trump has brokered a ceasefire with and is working on a lasting peace in the region with. And so that's something many Americans, especially American farmers, are hoping he does get to a lasting peace. And so if President Trump is successful in that and the Israelis are explicitly stating their intent to continue fighting at a later date, how can you ensure America doesn't get roped back into a war if that comes? And secondly, with Netanyahu comfortable tweeting something like that out, and also Netanyahu has continued bombing Lebanon despite President Trump explicitly telling him not to.
I would say your question is based on the false premise that somehow President Trump is being pulled in by Prime Minister Netanyahu to any of these actions. And that's where you're going. Just to be clear, President Trump has led at every step of this based on his view of American interest and America first. And we're grateful that Israelis have been very capable partners at many steps of this. And they may have some objectives at times that are slightly different than ours. But there's only one hand on the wheel ultimately directing this, whether it's Project Freedom or previously Operation Epic Fury, and it's President Trump. So we're grateful for their input, their insights, the existential nature of the threat they face from an Iranian bomb, the capabilities that they can bring to that, but ultimately the coordination will happen with the leadership of President Trump. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
It never fails, right, that somebody always wants to bring Israel as if somehow Israel is the mastermind of what we're trying to accomplish. I don't understand why people on the left wants to go that way. There's a guy, his name is Adam, this young guy that comes in, and they have him on the CNN panel sometimes. He has sort of some the right kind of information sometimes, as for example, he has the young people of today, they have the right to question things, and of course you do, but you also need to have some more research, and the leftist people, they continue to defend the stupidity and the ignorance of the comments that they make, because they have all this information but they acquire no wisdom. Like we were watching CNN the other time, right, yesterday, and we see these young people that says, we started this war. Like, people are still believing that this war was started by us. That's why I put on the chat, 2024. They killed 3 of our people. They've been killing. We've been at war with Iran. They're not the Iranian people, but with the Iranian regime for 47 years. And people still don't understand this. is beyond me. All right, we're going to switch gears. We have one more live, but I think we're going to have to wait until I actually go pick up my wife later today, and then we'll leave it for our afternoon live or our evening live. But I do want to go ahead and touch bases on Zoran Mandani, who is a disgrace in New York. Nobody has questions about anything that we just listened to, right? Everybody's good? All right, here we go.
ICE agents under attack in a wild scene here in New York City. At least 9 protesters arrested outside a hospital where an illegal migrant with prior arrests, including assault and drug possession, was being held. Former NYPD Chief of Department John Chell joins us now. So great to see you this morning. I wanted to start just explaining exactly what happened with this guy. During his arrest, Okiki refused to comply with officers' lawful commands to exit the vehicle and weaponized his vehicle in an attempt to hit ICE officers. Okiki became physically combative, attempting to punch and elbow ICE officers. Our officers followed their training and used minimum amount of force necessary to make the arrest. That was from DHS. After that, he requests a medical check, so they take him to the hospital. My question to you is this. How is it that these protesters are so quick to make it to the hospital before cops even before agents even get him to the hospital?
Great question. A lot of people don't know that Bushwick, Brooklyn is the headquarters for Antifa. So they have people that look for unmarked police cars or ICE cars, and when they see them, their word goes out rapidly. So that's how fast they were able to mobilize 200 people to protest ICE agents who were doing their job. This person was here on a visa. They overstayed his welcome. That's illegal. Then he commits crimes, and they do their job, and they're met with this. And then the NYPD gets dragged into it because it's their job to get dragged into it. They keep the peace. They freed up the ambulance bay. They let the protesters protest. They enforce law. So that's what they do. They don't collaborate with ICE, but they help everybody.
And so you have this situation, and obviously a lot of these politics work within the far left of the Democrat Party. I think that it's disastrous for the party outside of that. But that you have Democrats in New York City and in New York State who are doubling down on this abolish ICE business. And I mean, how does this work out?
Well, it's a DSA. Zoran Mandani is the team leader. And we have city council members. I call them the Fab Five of grifters. They don't like America. Chiose, Aviles, Sadie Nurse, Caban. They're all grifters that want the America to fail. And what they did over the weekend by gaslighting, kidnapping, NYPD collaborating, it's a disgrace, to your point.
Yeah, and so you have, usually it's always the cops who get are always on the, they're the tip of the spear. They're always the ones that end up getting taking the brunt of all of it. And then you have Mayor Mamdani saying, I've said time and again, ICE agents are cruel and inhumane. They do nothing but to serve in the interest of public safety. This is a politician who you would think would understand that ICE agents, just like NYPD officers, all they're doing is enforcing or attempting to enforce the laws that politicians put on the books.
Right. ICE agents took an oath to protect and serve, and that's what they're doing. They're taking bad people off the street who don't belong here. If the city just gave Tom Homan what he asked for, this could all be taken part in the precinct or Rikers Island, and we won't have this behavior on the street. But they don't want that. They want the bad people to say, the DSA, they're dangerous to our city and to our country. They advocate for bad people and don't represent the constituents that voted them in.
Yeah. So, a lot of these politicians have sort of moved away from the abolish police, trying to defund police.
But they never said that.
Yeah, right, exactly. They claim they never said it. But in effect, that's basically how they're governing. They're governing. I mean, what is the morale among NYPD today?
Look, there's 35,000. It ebbs and flows. Yeah. But I tell you what, the other night, they're not there in any political posture. They're there to do their job. Right. That's what they're called to do. And they do it well. They made 9 arrests. ICE got out of there. Some protesters protested properly, so everyone gets what they want.
John Chell, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
You know, I wish that I can have all the answers for you, but I can't fix retarded. Listen, if you don't know why we have to have ICE to protect the American people's interest, you either a criminal, whether you are an illegal immigrant or a fake patriot in this country. Damn shame on you. Shame on you guys for being anti-patriotic. President Vance, or Vice President Vance, is going to deliver some remarks in Iowa. I will be showing you guys that later yesterday. But I do want to touch up on a little bit on this Mondani guy. We've told you guys, we've told the world that Mondani is a communist Muslim. There's no other way to describe this guy. He is a communist Democrat, socialist Democrat, he calls himself. You know why they call themselves socialist Democrats? Yeah, fuck you too, Jerome. How's that? You know why they call themselves socialist Democrats? Because it's so close to being a communist. And so while they're working with their evil tactics, nobody knows better. Because socialism and communism is very, very alike. And some people don't understand that, especially the younger generation of the leftists. You know, I am very glad and I'm very happy that we have a lot of youth out there who actually do have some common sense. There is actually people out there that have good morals. They're in high school. You know, there's a lot of females out there that are virgins. And you have the bad side of females, most likely leftist people, who believe that they need to go out there and make fun of them. Oh, look at her. She's still a virgin. Yeah, she is precious. She's priceless. You, on the other hand, a little slut, you're not priceless. You're damaged goods. But they believe that they need to bully the girls that want to stay a virgin and be a good person for the future. This is how the devil works. Listen, whether you and I made mistakes when we were that young, it is irrelevant. If we didn't learn from those mistakes, we are fools. There is guys out there that are making fun of other guys because they're virgins. So what? I wish I was a virgin. I'd be so happy being a virgin right now. I'll tell you that right now. Oh, man, what I give to be a virgin. I'll tell you that. You gotta be grateful, man, for having the life that you have. And you live in a country. This is fantastic. You live in a country to where if you're not happy with your life, you can change it. You have freedoms. And it doesn't matter what the leftist socialist Democrats tell you. Just because you're black, just because you're a woman, just because you are a minority, it doesn't mean that you can't be successful. Now, if you believe that, watch the difference in the mentality of people. Most conservatives, whether they have faith in God or not, they believe on raising their daughters to love or at least take care of themselves. The other side, they tell them to hate themselves. Don't be happy being a girl. You can always be a boy. Don't be happy being a boy. You're too feminine. You should be a girl. And they indulge on this vanity, and they indulge in this sinful nature, and they're creating a horrible generation for the future of this country, but not of this country, but of the world. We knew Mondani was a disaster. We knew that this moron that we have here, Caine Wilson in Seattle as the mayor, we knew she was garbage with her socialist Democrat mentality. And yet, the people voted for her. There was no Republican running against him, by the way. I wish I would have known. I would have run against him. I wasn't thinking about office. I wasn't thinking about running for anything. But now we got a couple of years to get ready so that we can have a very strong race against the Democrats who are trying to destroy our country one city at a time. I give you guys a lot of props. I give you guys a lot of praise. Not the praise that I give God, because to God be all the glory and all the praise. But I give you guys a lot of props for helping me, for supporting me, for liking my videos. Thank you for liking the lives. Listen, I work no less than 16 hours a day. I sleep not even a quarter of my sleep. I have my own issues. But I'm going to tell you something. I am very, very grateful that every single one of you guys are here with me on a daily basis. Whether I got 10 people watching or whether I got 3,000 people watching. One soul at a time, I heard. One person at a time. You guys, the American citizens, whether you're blue or red, I don't care. You are the fabric of this country. Not the illegals, not the foreigners that come here to become residents and citizens just to abuse your God-given rights. God bless you. Thank you, members. Thank you, subscribers. Thank you all. We got 2 lives that we're going to stream later today. God bless your families. And as always, God bless the USA, baby. Make America great again. We'll see you in a bit.